Pros know that the right tools make a difference. Get the new Flex 24-volt line of industry-leading power tools exclusively at Lowe's. During our Just for Pros event, now through July 23rd, save on the Flex 24-volt brushless 4-tool combo kit. Was $399 and now just $349. It gets the job done with more power, longer runtime, and faster charging. Shop in-store or online today. Lowe's, the new home for pros. Versus National Home Centers for Flex 24-volt. Valid through 7/23, U.S. only.
This is Mission Control. The tallest, fastest, and longest steel coaster at Kings Island needs you. Must be able to handle a 300-foot drop and speeds up to 91 miles per hour while dodging meteors. No training required. Are you up for the challenge?
Introducing Orion at Kings Island, one of only 7 giga-coasters in the world.
Right now, everyone pays kids' price. Kings Island tickets just $45 online.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey, what's up? This is Jeff Cobb, and you're listening to Keepin' It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin' It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin' It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we're reviewing the first round of Tag Team Turbulence Summer Struggle, previewing Wrestle Grand Slam, answering listener questions, and covering all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, ProWrestlingTees.com/Social Suplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details.
What an incredible introduction. I mean, gift of the gods, just that voice, that silky smoothness, just bringing us all in, that familiarity, you know? It's like comfort food. It's like grandma's chicken noodle soup, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, the dulcet tones of Keeping It Strong Style. And young boy, we are on the road to episode 200. We are 10 episodes away from completing 200 episodes, never missing a week of Keeping It Strong Style out on the airwaves.
Well, some of us have missed weeks.
Yes, but there has always been a Keeping It Strong Style every week, regardless of one of us was missing. There was always a Keeping It Strong Style out there.
Well, here's the crazy news about that. Episode 200, we have the biggest guest we have ever had on the show coming for episode 200. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but his last name rhymes with Nadahashi. And he's coming here with his tag team partner. And his last name rhymes with
Sushi.
Yeah.
Man.
We don't have anyone lined up.
Not yet, but there's a lot of big shows that are going to be coming up to review. I mean, we're going to be in the middle of G1 season in a few weeks, and so I'm sure we can pull some strings. We have Resurgence coming up. I'm sure, there might be a chance that some special people might pop up on the show on the road to episode 200.
Yeah, man, I've been getting fit. I've been working on my fight moves, my different stances, movements, throwing some, been going down to the gym, throwing some Judas effects, letting people know that I could dominate them in a fight if need be. But the main thing is I'm preparing for our trek to Los Angeles, because if anybody tries to tell me to wear a mask,
oh boy.
Okay, I don't want my rights being infringed upon. I'm just frustrated,
Oh man.
Actually, I think they're like in full lockdown. I think we're gonna have to wear masks literally everywhere.
Yeah, the whole weekend. Yeah. Resurgence was already masked, unless you're eating or drinking. So yeah, that's like we're rocking the mask all weekend.
Yeah, bro. I guess I'm gonna go have to buy a mask. I got vaccinated. I don't wear a mask anywhere in Florida.
Yeah, dude. I don't. Yeah, the only place I had to wear a mask last Friday. I went to the dentist, and they're still requiring all their patients to wear a mask.
Oh, I got an Uber the other day, and they're like, "We require masks," and I was like, "Okay, yeah, that's straight." And they're like, "You got one? Please check yes." And I was like, "Yeah." And then I started looking around. We're going to go pick up my car, and all my masks are in my car, and I was like, oh shit, I don't have like a mask anymore. I had to find like one of those like cloth masks that people like foraged, they like literally like
the make your own ones.
Yeah. What's that called when like grandma like takes a
like crochet?
Someone crocheted me a fucking mask, and I was like, I think the COVID can get through these holes, but something's better than nothing, so I'm gonna chance it.
Hey man, as long as you're covered, you're straight. Don't matter if there's holes in the mask or not.
Sure. So yeah, I'm probably gonna need a mask for the show, but I gotta get like a one with like Antonio Inoki's face on it, so people know. Okay, they know that I'm with the shit. You know what I'm saying?
They know you're a mark.
Oh, yo, so yeah. Did you see that picture I sent you, the group chat this past week?
Yeah, I did. We actually have a question about it later on in the show.
Oh, someone asked a question. Yeah, so for you guys that don't know, when I was a little kid, I had like untold number of wrestling action figures. You saw it, bro, the picture's so blurry, I can't even make out all the figures, but there's probably like a good 200-300 figures in that picture.
Yeah, I'll ask the question now. It's from Dan Coffer in front of the show. He said, is the rumor true that as a child, young boy owned the world's largest collection of wrestling action figures?
Listen, man, I believed that I did, okay? I'd never met. So growing up, WWF was in its heyday, the early 90s. Those Hasbro action figures were pretty popular. So I knew like lots of kids that had a couple. But I didn't know any other child that was like me that had literally hundreds of these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, do you remember that? Did you ever watch that show, Figure It Out?
Yeah, Nickelodeon. Yeah.
Yeah, and like a kid who's like exceptional could go on there, and I was like, I'm not exceptional in any way, except for the fact that I have the world's largest wrestling toy figure collection. So I like prepared to like. I thought I was gonna be a shoo-in. Like I thought it was a formality. Me like they at the end of the episodes they'd be like, if you want to be a contestant, write us here, send us a picture, let us know what your talent is, and we'll let you know if we can get you on. And I was like, man, they're gonna put me on for sure. I got the world's largest wrestling toy collection. Like, and I knew nobody knows as much about wrestling as me, so like these Danny Tamborelli and these different like guests are not gonna be able to guess what mine is. I'm definitely gonna win.
Amanda Bynes.
Yeah, Amanda Bynes doesn't know shit about Hulk Hogan. Like, come on. So I knew I was gonna get that like vacation to Universal Studios, resort, with the fast passes and everything. But I took the photo. I was probably like 12, maybe like you know what? There's a picture of my trumpet. That means it's 6th grade, so I'm like 11 or 12 there. And yeah, I was pretty confident that I was gonna, go on there. Little did I know that I did not have the world's largest wrestling toy collection by any means.
Did they respond to you or like, nah, we found somebody else?
They didn't say shit. I didn't get anything back. I was waiting for a long time, too. I was like, man, these Nickelodeon people dragging their feet. Don't they know?
Don't they know what's up? I got the world's largest wrestling toy collection. What's going on here?
Yeah, what's happening?
Oh, man, that's hilarious. But let's jump into New Japan here. We got a lot of stuff to talk about this week, and we'll start with some hot news. So Switchblade Jay White is in the news cycle again. Jay White appeared at the end of Impact Wrestling Slammiversary pay-per-view that happened this Sunday, and he came out, stood face-to-face with former leader of the Bullet Club, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, the Good Brothers, Don Callis, they threw up the Too Sweet. I was trying to get Switchblade to Too Sweet him, but then...
they were like, Brother Switchblade.
Yes.
Brother Switchblade didn't tell me he was sending help.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude. Kenny Omega is freaking hilarious.
That's got to be literally one of the funniest things from Kenny's time as a heel in AEW is him telling Kenta, Brother Switchblade.
Yeah, I didn't know Brother Switchblade was sending help. Oh, man. But yeah, so yeah, they're trying to, cool things over with Brother Switchblade, throw Too Sweets up. Jay White just staring them down, but then Finn Juice came out. The pay-per-view cut off, but Finn Juice came out, hit the ring to attack Jay White. Jay hits the Blade Runner on Juice and runs for it. So, Youngboy, what do you think, man? Switchblade, Jay White showing up at Impact. We'll talk about the Impact spoilers here in a second, but overall, just thoughts on the angle that happened here on Sunday.
Well, I got to tell you, I haven't seen it. I thought about watching the Slammiversary event, and then I didn't. Because it's TNA, and I don't really watch, Impact like that. But, I do want to see. I heard really good things about the Kenny Omega Sami Callihan match, so I'd like to check that out at some point. I didn't even watch this angle, but I was out with friends. Actually, believe it or not, I sang karaoke this past weekend like I was freaking Taichi.
Oh wow! Did you sing Taichi's theme song?
No, I sang some new wave like 80s shit.
What about Judas?
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know if they would have had that on the machine. Speaking of which, did you see like the clip of him singing and like there's no one there?
Yeah, it was like some concert he did over the weekend, something like that.
Oh no, it looked embarrassing though. Yeah. Anyways, back to the task at hand. So I'm out, with friends, and then one of you guys sent something to the group, and it was like Jay White just walked out on Slammiversary, challenged Kenny Omega, and I was like, oh, like I fucking marked out. So I haven't actually even seen the angle. I read what happened, I saw it, and I was like, oh my god, we're getting Switchblade versus Kenny. Like, that's incredible. And that's pretty much where I'm at, and he walked out with the Never title too.
Yeah. So also we know Kenny's in the belt collector mode, grabbing titles from promotions across the world. So yeah, I mean, Kenny, he could want the Never title. I don't think Kenny ever held the Never title, did he?
That is the one major men's singles belt that he's never held. And if he were to hold it, he would be the second man to be the quadruple IWGP champion along with Jay White. And we talked on this show about when Jay White accomplished that. We're like, there's very few people who could do it. Kenny could, but like that's never going to happen.
Right, yeah.
And clearly that's maybe not the case. It's looking like a very real possibility now.
Yeah, and so we don't know quite where this angle is going. We'd have a question here from Dom Homie 101. Any thoughts on Jay White showing up on the recent Impact pay-per-view event to confront the Elite? And what will that be the end game in this situation? So yeah, like you, I was not watching the pay-per-view live. I still have not watched the pay-per-view. I did watch the angle. The angle is up on New Japan World. The angle here with Jay White and Kenny, and also Finn Juice showing up. They had a random squash match on the pay-per-view. That angle's also up on New Japan World right now. So yeah, thought it was angles cool. Thought it generated a ton of buzz. Jay White and Kenny. That's a match that people want to see. I mean, they've wrestled a couple times in New Japan when Jay White was a young lion, and then Jay took the U.S. title from Kenny. But we just know that there's all this emotion and Bullet Club history here, and so I think it would be cool. Now, is the end game going to be a Kenny Jay White one-on-one matchup? Who knows? I mean, Jay is set to face Finlay at Resurgence, but we don't know what's the game plan going forward.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to really kind of unpack there. I mean, my guess would be, since it occurred on an Impact pay-per-view, the logical thinking would be that this would occur within Impact and in an Impact ring. But at the same time, you know, there's always the possibility it could happen in AEW. There's always the possibility it could happen in New Japan on Strong, or possibly in Japan. And then there's always the possibility that we could get some sort of unknown collaborative venture between one, you know, two or three of the parties involved that maybe this could headline. So, I mean, who knows what this even means? There's also the thought, you know, is this a one-off match between Kenny and Jay White? What titles would hypothetically be involved with that? You know what I mean? Is he coming out to challenge him for the Impact title? Is he coming here to, is it a non-title beef? Is it going to be belt for belt? Like, I don't really know. But then it could maybe even go further than that. I mean, we've seen, you know, when Jay White first joined Bullet Club, that was right in the middle of the quote-unquote Bullet Club Civil War, where you had Bullet Club Elite and Bullet Club OGs. Right. And it never really played out the way we thought it was going to. But at this point now, you've got, you know, the, what are they called in AEW? The Super Elite, I guess?
Yeah, the Elite, Super Elite.
Yeah. So the guys that are in that heel stable there could potentially square off with any number of Bullet Club guys between any one of these three promotions. It really opens up a lot of different possibilities, you know, and I don't know what's going to happen. I guess that's what's really exciting about it.
Right. I mean, I know I hate, you know, want to throw that third term out there, forbidden door. I mean, this definitely opens up doors and avenues for more partnership down the line for big matchups. You know, Wrestle Dynasty was a show that was supposed to happen at MSG. I think at some point they might try and go back to MSG. I mean, I think a Kenny Omega, Jay White matchup would be a huge business for a big show like that. If they want to do another big U.S. show after Resurgence, yeah, that would be a great matchup. But like you mentioned, it could happen on Impact. Bound for Glory is in October. Kenny needs a big title match. Why not do Kenny versus Jay White for the Impact title? Or Wrestle Kingdom could always use some big outside, you know, matches. So Kenny versus Jay could be at Wrestle Kingdom. So many options, so much business to be done. Very exciting times.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, you know, there might be Impact fans who are looking at this and saying to themselves, you know, Impact kind of gave them the platform. It should happen in Impact. But, you know, if this partnership is one that is strengthened simply by running the angle, and it just happens to be the first spot where the feud is ignited, but the matches actually take place outside, I think that's still okay, because it gave a lot of buzz and eyeballs and sort of attention to Impact for the time being. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the match is going to play out in Impact. I personally don't think it should, because while I think it was a great jumping point, I don't think that the return for a match like that for the other two companies, unless it's just a make good, like they're just kind of, you know, doing a favor for Impact, you know, while, you know, Jay's kind of here in the States and all that, and Kenny's kind of running out of viable challengers in Impact, that might be the case. I also don't think, I personally don't think this should happen in AEW, or at least not on Dynamite. You know, I know we've seen some of like Mox's different like feuds kind of play out there, but I think that there's just bigger business that can be done between these two. Like you mentioned, if it was up to me and I'm New Japan or Tony Khan, I would try to arrange some way to make this happen on a bigger stage, on a bigger venue. Now, if it was like, say, I'm not saying this is going to be where it is, but let's say it was something comparable to the Arthur Ashe show that they're running, then I think that does that could be plausible. But I don't see Tony Khan and them spending a lot of time and energy on their show kind of building up a match like this. So my thinking is like a New Japan show that is like the one that they were going to do at Madison Square Garden. The only thing is we don't see like anything like that on the horizon coming up, but Resurgence is right around the corner. And now I'm starting to feel like, what if Kenny Omega shows up at Resurgence? And what if that is the catalyst for something else down the road? Because I feel like that's where New Japan and AEW both can get the biggest bang for their buck, is if they do run some sort of like, it doesn't even have to be a co-ventured show, but a main event of Kenny Omega versus Jay White in a larger building. I think that, one, it helps Jay because Jay's already, quote unquote, proven that he's a draw in the States, although I don't think that's true. But they have the numbers to back it, where he headlined Madison Square Garden and all that. But if he runs again in a large building that's similar against Kenny Omega and it draws, then it might actually really help to establish him as a North American draw, which is what I think that they kind of desperately need from someone like him.
Yeah.
And then with Kenny, Kenny's just kind of, like you said, he's the belt collector right now. He's kind of doing his thing. He's drawing big numbers, big attention everywhere he goes, whether it's Mexico, Impact, and, AEW, and now, wrestling New Japan guys. But I don't really know how it's actually going to play out.
Yeah, and I think Elite vs. Bullet Club is big money. We saw when Kenny wore a Bullet Club shirt on an Impact pay-per-view a few months ago, how the shirt sales skyrocketed on Pro Wrestling Tees. So just from the merchandise and just the buzz and business they can do from Bullet Club versus the Elite, I think would be huge.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have all parties involved working together for something like this, there's huge business to be done there. I actually think that that's a much bigger deal than just Jay White versus Kenny Omega. If you can get a Bullet Club, I think that it really does help to elevate Bullet Club, because right now we've kind of talked about how like the Bullet Club, while they're fine in kayfabe within their own company, they're not viewed largely by, I don't think, either audience as being as impactful or respected as what, the original couple iterations of the Bullet Club were seen as. And they haven't had anything truly meaningful as a group since Kenny and the Elite like left the group. And that's not me just like, downplaying them, but I'm talking about like, think about it for a second. How many major feuds has the Bullet Club had within New Japan? Chaos, like, LIJ. There really hasn't been anything sustained like there had been in the past.
Right.
This would really draw huge attention to all companies involved. They could do huge business. And I think it'd be something that helps everybody. And, just think of like the video packages and montages that they could do. It kind of makes sense why you've seen stuff like Jay White sort of referring to himself as the real belt collector in New Japan. And I was sort of like, is he angling for a match with Kenny? How is that going to work out? And now we're starting to see it come to fruition. And it's like, wow, this must have all kind of been in the works for some time now,
Right. We did have some questions here from Steven from the Wrestling Squared Circle. Both of his questions kind of go hand in hand. He says, do you think the lukewarm response Jay had made NJPW do a rewind in their minds on if this is the right place? And he said, based on the reception Jay White got live, fans didn't seem to know who he was, or even their internet people didn't know him either. Do you think that Impact was the right fit for what looks like to be a working agreement?
Is that how you saw it? Did you think that the live audience was confused by him, or lukewarm reception?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a huge. Well, I think there was a pop when like the Bullet Club logo came on, then Jay came out, and then people were. I think there maybe the commentary said that people were like stunned silence, but it wasn't like a huge like OMG like moment.
Like, think about it. Who else could it have possibly been? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
The Bullet Club logo comes out and like, oh shit! I hope it's Bad Luck Fale. Like, who else would you be expecting? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who they were expecting, but yeah, it wasn't like a huge pop. I mean, it was like pretty quiet, and then D'Lo Brown's like, the crowd is stunned silence. And
that's a good cover.
Yeah. So
I mean, I don't think that there's the biggest overlap between Impact Wrestling fans and New Japan Pro Wrestling fans, honestly. I mean, New Japan is a niche product. I don't think there's the biggest overlap with New Japan is going to be diehard indie fans, or some of the older AEW fans. I think that there's probably at this point a considerable amount of AEW fans who've never watched New Japan, who are peripherally aware of it, but there's not even the biggest crossover there either at this point,
Right. And so I'm sure people know Kenny and all them were in the Bullet Club, but they don't know what's happening with the Bullet Club right now. So
sometimes it feels like New Japan doesn't either. But we saw when Kenta made his way over to AEW, and it had a lot of buzz, a lot of attention on the internet and in circles. But then the general audience, the numbers were a little bit disappointing for his segments and matches. They were down that week, which was just kind of surprising. And I think a lot of it is, I don't think there is as many people as familiar with the wrestlers from New Japan. I think across the board, do I think that there's a way that you can hype up a Tanahashi and Okada and Ibushi, or say a Jay White, or even Will Ospreay? Yeah. But do I think that they're, firmly in the mindset and the zeitgeist of the general average North American wrestling fan? I don't think they are, other than just as a name that they've heard. And, forget about the deeper parts of Pro. They don't know who Go Shiozaki is and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. And that's kind of why I was mentioning why I think it would be a good idea to have a major match with Kenny Omega and Jay White under the New Japan banner, because New Japan is trying at this point to make an expansion play into North America, and they need a key player. And Mox, while he's kind of their guy, he's mainly an AEW talent, and that's where his allegiance in North America kind of lies. But Jay White's their homegrown boy, and he's not this just kind of even shows that he's not as well known as he possibly could be. And I think that the stage could be set to really potentially do something big here,
Right. A lot of people are speculating, who can take the Impact title from Kenny. They look at the Impact rosters, it's not really a guy I can see. Well, why not have somebody like Switchblade Jay White take the belt off of Kenny? And then you kind of help that relationship with New Japan.
Yeah, I mean, in the one respect, that does make sense to me, and it screams Rev Pro British heavyweight title to me, because we saw a lot of times where the Rev Pro title is being traded between New Japan guys, and I wouldn't be surprised if potentially Jay White were to maybe be that guy. The big thinking though is, if AEW is run traditionally the way most major companies are, his top prize there is going to take precedent over any other outside booking. So I don't see him dropping that belt until he loses the AEW title. Obviously, he's got a title defense coming up on the next pay-per-view with Hangman Adam Page. A lot of people think that's where he's probably going to drop the belt. I'm not completely convinced that that's the case, but if that were to happen, that would open the door for something like Jay White potentially taking the Impact title. And then that would really strengthen the Impact New Japan partnership. It kind of feels like Ring of Honor be out in the cold at that point.
Right.
And I'm also wondering if maybe at that juncture, do you have Jay White, defend that belt in Japan? Do you have him, come back and work shows as the Impact World Champion? Is there money in a return match between him and Kenny after that, depending on how that match plays out? These are all things that need kind of, we're all kind of wondering.
Right. And I think that, there's going to be a lot of business to be made here. So I think we'll see something come up. But let's talk about... Oh, go ahead.
My biggest thing is I love when there's animosity and feuds cross promotionally like this. And just the idea of two factions from rival territories and groups potentially mixing it up with. Now, don't get me wrong. while I was advocating for Kenny and Jay to potentially have that match on a big stage for New Japan, I wouldn't be opposed to them doing it in Impact or AEW, provided they presented the right platform for it. Big enough, building, big enough show. But beyond that, if hypothetically there was a feud between them or the Elite and the Bullet Club, dude, you could do any number of matches across all promotions. Why not have multi-man tag matches, in AEW on Dynamite and, Rampage and all that, in TNA on their monthly pay-per-views, that sort of shit. Like, dude, who knows? Maybe it could eventually work its way to a War Games match,
Yeah, that would be crazy. Yeah, blood and guts with the Elite versus Bullet Club.
That would be so sick.
Well,
we're probably just fantasy booking ourselves. Like, it's probably just gonna be a one-off match, but like, I would love to see all that sort of stuff happen. I know that there's a subsect of fans that are anti-AEW, don't want this stuff, but I think that this would be nothing but beneficial to New Japan long term.
Right. And so let's talk about the spoilers from the Impact tapings real quick. So if you are a Impact viewer, you might want to fast forward a little bit. We're going to talk about some spoilers from the tapings that happened Monday and Tuesday. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers from Impact coming up. So
Hulk Hogan returned to Impact this week, and he was brandishing the original IWGP title, declaring himself as the still reigning IWGP champion, and he's now going to be challenging Kenny Omega at the upcoming Hard to Kill pay-per-view.
Oh man, no.
In a last man standing match.
No red and yellow for Impact right now. Who knows? Maybe
that's correct, because he did not show up in the red and yellow. He showed up in the black and white NWO Hollywood colors.
Oh man, no Hogan at Impact.
And he bought the Yappa pie.
What did actually happen was Chris Bay joins the Bullet Club. So Impact did put out a teaser video on their social media of Chris Bay going to the locker room, there being a Bullet Club shirt laying on his chair. Then the tapings happen, and Jay White officially recruits Chris Bay to the Bullet Club. They team up in some tag matches, and Jay seconds Chris Bay on some of the matches on the Impact taping. So looks like Chris Bay is a member of Impact, or excuse me, a member of Bullet Club. And we did have a question here from Viking Pain. It says, Bay to BC, thoughts on the possibility of seeing Chris Bay in New Japan more in the future?
I'm a little surprised by this. I like Chris Bay a lot. I've been impressed with him. I know you're a big fan. I'd like to see more of him, but my feelings right now are not that, like, I guess why this is so surprising to me is it doesn't feel like he is an Impact guy that is like just kind of there, but like, who knows, his contract's about to be up and like, this is a play to bring him to Japan. What it feels like is this is a signed Impact talent that is clearly defined as an Impact guy who will now be like brandishing the Bullet Club logo and all that, and then potentially coming over to Japan to work, but like still as an Impact guy and a member of the Bullet Club. Last time we saw anything like this was during the heyday of the Bullet Club in Ring of Honor. We haven't seen anything like that since the since AEW split and the Elite left Ring of Honor. So like, it's kind of shocking because I haven't even considered the idea that through all these partnerships, it would be anything more than a talent trade. But now we're talking crossover storylines, crossover, factions. I mean, it's very exciting, but it does make me wonder what's going on with Ring of Honor. Like, if I'm Kerry Silken in them, like I'm fucking fuming,
Right, yeah. Ring of Honor does seem left out in the cold. We do have some comments from Joe Koff later on in the news talking about what he thinks is going on with the partnership. But yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, back in the day, ROH, you had Marty Scurll, you had Hangman Page, you had Cody, you had all these guys kind of joining the Bullet Club from the Ring of Honor side and then using that to jump over to Japan. So now we're seeing that here with Chris Bay. Chris Bay did work the Super J Cup last year on Strong. So that was kind of one of the first signs of Impact and New Japan working together again. And it seems like New Japan's had their eyes on Chris Bay for a while now. And so when you look at the tea leaves and look at the seeds that were planted, it makes a ton of sense. And it's very interesting with the partnership between Impact and New Japan. And I think, going forward, if Chris Bay does come to Japan, I think he would be very well utilized in the junior division. We've talked about it over and over. We need fresh blood in the junior division. We need more guys coming in. We need more Gaijins coming in, because that's what New Japan's junior division has been based off of. And so bringing in Chris Bay for Best of Super Juniors, having him, be a junior champ, face off against Hiromu and Taiji and, having some big matches, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm all for it. We've talked about the junior division and, their struggles, and how that division has always been very much a international-centric sort of group. And, Chris Bay's inclusion in the New Japan Cup earlier last year, or maybe it was this year, I don't remember. Yeah, was it this year?
It was last year. It was December last year, because they ran Super J Cup right after
that's right.
Best Super Junior and World Tag League.
Yeah, that was something that was really cool and really exciting, but I didn't expect to see anything beyond that. But his inclusion now, it opens up a lot of doors and possibilities, and that's really cool. It's kind of funny, like, Bullet Club gets another junior, and, like, the United Empire, like, still doesn't even have one.
Right. And I believe it's the first, member that is us a part of the Bullet Club.
They've never had a black guy in the Bullet Club at all?
I don't think so.
Oh, shoot. That's crazy. Let me look this up.
We've had a bunch of Tongans, also a bunch of white dudes.
Well, yeah, I don't know how that works. Like, Bad Luck Fale is, like, a little dark. Is he, like, there's no, like, influence there, or is it just completely, like, a Pacific Islander thing?
I'm not 100%. From my understanding, I just thought he was 100% Tongan, but he could be mixed.
Yeah. Well, because I know, like, for instance, like, in Puerto Rico, like, I'm Puerto Rican, and, like, there's definitely, like Black Caribbean, like, influence there with some people. I don't know. I'm not from the island, so I don't know exactly how it works, but there's a lot of racism in Puerto Rico. You know about that?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
There's, like, the light-skinned, like, Puerto Ricans, like, hate the black Puerto Ricans.
Yeah, they do. It's intense down there.
It's, like, kind of crazy. The original Bone Soldier, we never saw under that mask. You never know. Yeah, I'm looking. They've had El Terrible and, Le Commandant. So they had some Hispanic members, but oh no. They have had a black member before. Who? Brandy Rhodes.
Oh. All right. Well, first black male wrestler then.
But that's it. They had the Tokyo Latina.
Oh, Peter.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. So yeah, he's the first, black wrestler, period, that they've had in the group.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
That is crazy when you think about that. Bullet Club's been around for so long, and with him being the first, active black wrestler in the group.
Yeah, kind of surprising. That's cool.
We had a question here from Reddit user Hawaiian Punch BV. Says Jay White recruited the newest member of Bullet Club, Chris Bay. Pretend you are Jay White. Who would you recruit to be a part of Bullet Club? Pick one from AEW, one from ROH, one non-Japan, New Japan, Puro Company, etc.
Oh, that's tough. Well, I can tell you right off the bat, if I was gonna grab someone non-New Japan Pro Resu, I'd go with Katsuhiko Nakajima. I fucking love Nakajima from Noah. So that'd be my get. I'd grab him for sure.
If I'm going non-New Japan Puro, give me Marufuji.
Marufuji's good. I also thought about Kano. I like Kano a lot. As far as AEW, you got a good AEW pick? I'd probably pick Kenny Omega.
Young Bucks.
What about Sting?
He's here. He's already wearing the white and black.
I'm gonna get the bunny.
I'm going with Big Butch.
No, for real though. If you had to pick one guy from AEW, who would you pick? I'm not even sure personally.
I'll go with MJF.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. Yeah, it's not a bad one at all. Man, I'm looking at their personnel list because, like, even though I watch the show, there's a lot of wrestlers there. It's kind of crazy. They got so many guys. I'd take Pac.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. So I'll take him, and then Ring of Honor. God, I don't even know who's in Ring of Honor. Who you got?
Let's see here. Ring of Honor roster. Let's see.
You know what? Fuck it. Like I'm picking Bandito. What's funny about that?
I don't know. Just seeing Bandito in a Bullet Club shirt, just picturing that.
Bro, Bandito would look raw. He'd come out. His Bullet Club shirt would be cut on the sides. It would be like, it'd be cut on the side and it'd have tassels. He'd come out and bro, think about how like most of the time he'd wear like the black or the gray, but like for the big matches he'd come out in the white. Yes. Like AJ. Bro, he'd be a fucking raw member of the Bullet Club.
Well, since you picked up,
like if Bandito got picked up, like, bye ELP.
Well, since you picked the luchador from ROH, I will also pick a luchador from ROH. I will pick Demonic Flamita.
You don't want Mike Bennett? Miracle?
Hey, you know what? Real quick, you mentioned Mike Bennett. I've never been the biggest Mike Bennett fan. I always thought he was mid. But he had a great match with Jonathan Gresham at Best in the World for the Pure title. I went 4 1/4 on it. That literally the best Mike Bennett match I've ever seen.
I actually, when you asked this question, I wanted to do a bit where like I just named like classic ROH guys that are like not there anymore.
CM Punk.
I'll take Punk. No? All right. I'll take the Human Tornado.
Necro Butcher.
I'll take the Necro Butcher. Give me Jimmy Jacobs.
Give me Prince Nana.
That's funny. But yeah, good question.
Next question comes from Ricky, our buddy Ricky from the Ricky and Clyde Wrestling Show. He says, let's assume Omega gets past Jay White. Do you think we will ever see Ibushi Okada confronting Omega at some point?
It's a great question. I mean, one thing I will say is I don't know down the line that it will always be a situation where it'll be an Ibushi or an Okada confronting Kenny Omega. That almost implies like they got to come see him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, last I heard, like Kenny ain't got no wins over this man Ibushi, so he might want to come confront, the fucking Golden Star. I don't know.
Right.
But Okada, he got beat, so he might want to make his way out to, Daly's place. see what's up. I don't know.
Make his way to Arthur Ashe in September. Skip the G1.
Oh man, so today, this is unrelated, but today, like, there was a report that for all the merch coming up for like the next 2 quarters, the report came out that like Daniel Bryan wasn't discussed at all, so like he has no new merch coming out, and like Rich was in the group chat and he's like, dude, he's like, Arthur Ashe Stadium, one of the big stars in AEW is like, I beat everybody's ass. There's no one left. And then all of a sudden you hear and like, bro, I was like, dude, if that happened, I would cry whole ass tears. Like I would literally like rend my clothes, my garments. I would like just completely lose my shit. So like, who knows? Maybe Brian will come work at fucking Tokyo Dome sometime soon,
Yeah, my fantasy situation would be Shingo beats Ibushi. He's cutting his promo, then Daniel Bryan comes out and challenges Shingo for the MetLife Stadium show.
Not that I
MetLife
don't want to see Shingo and Bryan. Of course I do. But, like, if I could get Danielson and Okada, oh, my God.
Yeah, that would be great also. Maybe we get Bryan as a part of the G1.
But, yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I think there is business to be done between all these guys, you know, and Kenny's been gone long enough from New Japan. You know, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Plus, he's having a banner year. Why not have those guys wrestle again? But I don't know that it will always be, you know, someone from New Japan coming out to challenge him. Like, I'm waiting for that day where Kenny shows up on the fucking big screen.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And then the lights go out, and then he's in the ring, and you're like, oh my God, he learned from Jericho.
Yeah, but say, yeah, you know, Fukuoka is Jericho, or Jericho did that. That would be great if Kenny did that.
Yeah, so I'm ready for that kind of stuff.
Next question from our buddy Rich from One Nation Radio. He says, how great is the never openweight title going to look on Michael Nakazawa?
I mean, yeah, if Kenny wins it, but I don't know that he will. I mean, here's the thing, like, it's not that would be the worst move or anything like that, but I mean, bro, like, the red belt's stuck in America, and then you're going to take the never belt and then make that be stuck in America, and then the white belt got amalgamated into the black belt, so it's like, damn, like, what's left? The junior belt? Like,
right.
That's it?
Junior belt, the most prestigious title right now?
Yeah, and the strong belt's an American title. America's going to have 3 New Japan singles titles, and New Japan's going to have 1. And, you know, that shit got vacated this year, so I don't know if that's the move, really.
But he says, on a serious note, should this lead to Kenny getting booked for New Japan somewhere? What do you think his reception will be among fans?
I think the man who really makes most of the has most of the power and decision to do anything here is Tony Khan. Really depends on what he's going to allow, because while I am definitely advocating it as a fan for New Japan to be the host of this type of match, there's no denying that the biggest platform in North America for the match would be AEW. The reason why I don't see it happening in AEW is because I just can't imagine them devoting enough television time to really build it the way it should be built. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, they have a hard time, you know, getting their whole roster on the 2 hours they have right now.
Exactly. So that's kind of where my hesitation is there. And then in the same respect, it really depends on how strong this partnership in union really is. Because, I mean, the thing that kind of throws a monkey wrench in all this is, what if New Japan does do a big show at a Madison Square Garden or what have you, you know, some big 15 to 20,000 seat arena here in North America? Is that a threat to what AEW is doing? Now, if they're involved with the show and it's kind of co-produced similar to G1 Supercard, then I think that's a little different, you know? That's something that has both of their names branding on it. They could both take credit. But if it's just a New Japan show, it really would rely on Tony Khan giving them the okay to go ahead and do that. And I don't know if he sees them as like major competitors in a shared market space and that it would be bad for business, or if it's something where like there need to be like assurances made on New Japan's part to strengthen the partnership so that down the line they're willing to give him a big name, an Okada, an Ibushi, a Tanahashi, someone like that. Maybe even Suzuki, who knows?
Right.
Shingo, I don't know. So, I mean, there's a lot of kind of moving pieces there to kind of imagine how would that even come about, you know? And I think the biggest part is Tony Khan. He's the guy with the power here in this country in that equation to make this sort of thing even capable of happening.
Yeah. But I do think this should lead to Kenny getting booked in New Japan, like we mentioned. I think that would be a great use of, you know, this partnership, getting Kenny to do a big match in New Japan. And then also, as far as his reception, I think his reception would be great. I mean, the Japanese fans loved Kenny, saw him as one of his own. And so, like you mentioned, if they have that moment where the lights go out and he shows up on the big screen, if we're in an environment where fans can cheer, I think the crowd would like lose their minds and pop huge for him. And then for him to like, show up, I think it would make big headlines in Japan. I think the Japanese fans would be totally into it.
There is also that possibility that you kind of bring up, and you know, they could have the match in Japan on a big stage there. I think that possibly might not have as much of an effect for the aspect that I was sort of appealing to, in that, you know, they have the ability to present Jay as a major North American market figure. But even if it did happen in Japan, the mere fact that he's wrestling Kenny Omega, who is a very highly pushed and well-known commodity in North America, would still raise his stock in this market, even if it didn't happen here. That's what happened to Jericho when Jericho went and worked Wrestle Kingdom. So I could see the same effect kind of taking hold. So maybe that would be the best thing for all parties involved, is do it in the domestic market. It helps New Japan's bottom line, you know, and then, you know, there's not that conflict of interest within the North American market. That's a possibility too.
Yeah. So one last thing here on the whole Jay White thing. There was a tweet from Tama Tonga. He said, using Okada as a measure, like I said, you make your name against Okada, no one else. Hashtag NJPW, hashtag Slammiversary. And we had a question from EMJ Does PR. He says, for the show, this cap or nah?
I didn't really get, I saw it, but I was kind of confused as to the context. I think I get what he's saying is like Kenny like got to that next level off of his matches with Okada, basically, right?
Yeah, I think that was kind of the context of it too.
But I didn't understand, like, well, why are you, what is the point of this tweet, you know?
Right.
I don't know. It feels weird. Like, as a Bullet Club member, I would assume that he would want to put some shine on his boy who's getting ready to step into, you know, this feud with Kenny Omega. But who knows? Again, like we talked about, if there is a potential Bullet Club Elite feud, I mean, the Tongans would play a huge part into that with all the shit talking and everything that's been on their podcasts and, you know, social media and everything. So maybe he's just, you know, playing into that gimmick some more. But it feels like you're undermining Omega at the expense of Jay White, as opposed to focusing on Jay White and his part in that whole interaction. Is weird.
Right. You think he would tweet something like, yeah, you know, Bullet Club made you and Bullet Club is still number one or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's putting the focus on Okada to kind of represent
New Japan,
which is great, but then it undermines like Jay White entirely, you know, and he's the guy in this situation. So I didn't get it.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up talk on Jay White. Real quick, we got to talk about the IWGP US champion, Jon Moxley. He defended the title last Wednesday against Machine Gun Carl Anderson on the opening of Dynamite. Retained the title here. What do you think about this matchup?
Which match?
Jon Moxley against Carl Anderson.
I thought this match was fine. Better than fine. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't have really high expectations going into the match, to be honest with you. Not to say that I was like downplaying it, but like I just I don't know. Like, I was just like, we'll see what happens here. And it was better than what I expected it to be. But on what was truly an incredible Dynamite, it sort of got overshadowed by a couple of the matches and segments of the night that by the time that show was over, I kind of forgot about this match even happening.
Yeah.
But for Carl Anderson, I mean, that's probably the best singles match I've seen him have in years. And Jon Moxley looked good. I don't know what he's doing with his hair. He needs to kind of figure that shit out. But
yeah, that man he needs to come home. He needs to take it all off.
He did, and then he let it grow back out.
No, he never took it all off. That was somebody photoshopped that picture of him in the gear, the bald head.
Yeah, but he clearly buzzed it all down.
Yeah.
Because it grew back, and since the last time we saw him. So, like, to me, that tells me he did probably bring it all down and then let it grow back out.
Yeah, he needs to just keep it down.
But yeah, the match was good. I mean, I'd recommend it. I didn't like it as much as the Kenta or the Yuji Nagata match, but it was still, I thought it was a great opener for Dynamite.
Yeah, super hot crowd. This Moxley Elite feud has been going on for some time now, and so there was a lot of heat going in the match. And if you watch the Road to shows that they do on YouTube, they did a lot to build up this match between Anderson and Moxley. Anderson talking about his history in New Japan and being in the G1 finals and wanting to win the IWGP singles title and bring it back to New Japan. There's a lot of kind of interesting stuff there with that video, and so. Yeah, I thought the match was very good, around 3.5, very hard hitting. Like you said, probably Carl Anderson's best match in a long time. And so great defense here for Jon Moxley. And then we got the exciting news that on tomorrow night's Dynamite, Jon Moxley will be defending the IWGP US title in a Wrestle Kingdom 14 rematch, Texas Death Match in Dallas, Texas against the Murder Hawk Monster, Texas's own Lance Archer.
So in a certain respect, I'm very excited for this because I really enjoyed the feud that they had Wrestle Kingdom a couple years back, and the match they had, that Texas Death Match, which was pretty much just the last man standing, if I recall, right?
Right, I think so, yeah.
Or it was you could win by submission or knockout.
Yeah, I was thinking it was a submission or knockout, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. But they're doing it on Dynamite. That's great. But, like, it's a 1-week build, and I'm not to say that there haven't been any interactions or little teases between Mox and Archer on, within the world of AEW. There have been some over the, but nothing serious, nothing to where you could point to and be like, oh shit, they're feuding, they're going to run it. And then suddenly they're in the middle of a big match, that's a title match. And I think they're kind of just banking a little bit on the nostalgia plus the stage, since it's one of those, it's what, Fyter Fest again?
Yeah, it's Fyter Fest night 2.
So, the one part of me is I'm excited because it's probably going to be a really great match, and, we get to see it for free, and I'm excited for it. But I also kind of wonder if they shouldn't have built this up for a little bit. It's almost like a pay-per-view level quality match. And I'm not complaining about them giving that away for free on TV, but I am wondering if they shouldn't have built it up a little bit more than just a couple promos the week prior.
Yeah, I think they could have done a lot more. Also, you had to kind of wait until Mox beat Carl Anderson, so maybe, and you want to do it in Texas because of Archer, but maybe if they should have pushed up the Anderson match, so that way they could have built a little bit more to the Archer match. But like you said, it's going to be a great matchup. Again, they did some great stuff on the Road to show that aired today on their YouTube channel. Great promo from Archer, great stuff from Moxley. They used footage from New Japan, talked about the first Texas Death Match and, Archer's history. He talked about, winning the title from Juice Robinson and the vacated title and being the champion because Mox couldn't make it, and the whole match at Wrestle Kingdom. So looking forward to the match. Should be a great matchup. And this one is kind of up in the air, I think, for the winner. Normally it's kind of set, Mox is probably going to win the matchup, but this is the third match these guys had. Mox has beaten him twice. He beat him at Wrestle Kingdom. He's beaten him at AEW. Third matchup, rematch for a Texas Death Match for the title in Archer's home state, hometown. It's like, man, I kind of feel like Archer should win this.
I don't know that he should, and I'm not guessing that he will. But, I mean, if there was a guy that New Japan was like, hey, we'd like to, have him come work for us, Archer could be one of those guys on the short list,
Right, and then especially if Resurgence is going to end up being Mox and Umino against the Good Brothers, you could have Archer do a singles defense of the U.S. title from somebody who gets a shot on Strong.
That's true. It just feels so sudden that there's not enough like, I almost feel like it would be a disservice to the belt to have a title switch like this, even though it's a really capable challenger. It's someone that I think we all could believe and get behind. I mean, I'm a big Archer fan, but I'm just like, that would kind of suck if, like, Mox has had this really, really long, lengthy title reign. Granted, it was during a pandemic, but at the same time, like, they've gone out of their way to kind of make it this big deal the past few months and all that. To just have him randomly drop it to Archer with no fanfare, no buzz, or anything like that, it just wouldn't seem right. I would almost rather that something happens here that necessitates Archer needing to get a rematch, and then on the pay-per-view, him beating Mox clean, fair, and square, 1, 2, 3. So so the world knows, like, Lance Archer's a bad motherfucker,
Right, yeah. Also, they could do something. I don't know what the finish is. I don't know. I mean, because also, yeah, I think Mox, probably business-wise for New Japan, Mox is going to win. I just feel bad for Archer because I feel like he hasn't really gotten a chance to get a really big win in AEW yet. And he was such on fire leaving New Japan with his performance in the G1 and then the match with Mox at the Dome. I just wish that they could do some more with him.
Hey, if you don't have loyalty to your company, that's what happens to you. You know what I'm saying? Okay? I mean, from what I understand, Hangman Adam Page threw his whole career away by, jumping to AEW. Okay?
That's what some people think.
He would have been an IWGP champion multiple times over at this point had he stayed in New Japan,
Yeah, I mean, Evil got the belt. Who knows? Maybe he could have.
No loyalty. No loyalty from these Gaijin guys,
We had some questions.
That's what some people will
say.
Want you to think that, yeah.
We have some questions here. First from our user Lord_McDonald's. He said, y'all think NJPW going to pull out the stops and have Mox take on someone big for Resurgence, or going to keep with the trend of people like Nagata Anderson that he can have a good match with, but no way they're going to take the belt off of him?
Well, depending what happens with this Archer match, I mean, who knows? Maybe they could do a rematch between Archer and Mox at Resurgence, which I wouldn't be opposed to at all.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love for that match to happen.
Part of my theory about the Good Brothers and Umino and Mox sort of required there to be more of that sort of teased and alluded to last week. And clearly that didn't play out that way. So I'm not thinking that that's going to be the case still.
Yeah, we've seen no direction of that. We haven't even seen Umino on Strong yet, so we're not quite sure the direction they're going to go with him on Resurgence, but...
That was kind of my hot take. I was hoping to, like, be ahead,
Hey, there's still a few weeks, so we still might be ahead on that one. We had a question here from our user Viking Payne. He says, I have the feeling that Moxley being involved in all sorts of different U.S. title matches now is a sign that he'll be dropping it soon, particularly at Resurgence. If you can pick one NJPW guy to take it off of him, who would it be and why?
It's a tough question. I mean, who do we have announced for that show in general?
Let me
I'm not even sure really who's gonna even be there, to potentially, be the guy that could beat him. Looking at the poster here, I mean, Jay White's gonna be busy. I guess you could maybe make an argument for Filthy, but he's already the Strong champion. I couldn't see Fred Rosser. I'd say no to Leo Rush. I'd say no to both Good Brothers.
What about Brody King?
Yeah, but possibly. But then you've got a Ring of Honor guy who's not even really signed with New Japan and hasn't worked any extensive dates outside of the LA tapings, kind of representing it. My feeling at this point is with how much they've built up his title reign, you kind of need to bring someone from Japan to beat him at Resurgence. I'm not saying it's impossible, but right now I'm not thinking that he's dropping that belt. But if it was Archer and they're doing this big match on TV, if there was some sort of situation that occurred that required a rematch between them, that is someone I could see beating him, especially since he's already held the belt. And, that would be a nice crossover. Like, how do I put this? He's a guy with enough credibility to where if he beat Mox, it's not like it's New Japan, like a New Japan guy beating an AEW guy. It's truly an AEW guy beating another AEW guy. But Archer's low enough on the totem pole to where like he's just a notch beneath where Mox is. So he could afford to eat the pinfall in New Japan when he fights whoever, Ishii or, you know, what have you.
Right.
So I think he wouldn't be a bad transitional guy at all, you know?
Right, and I think it would be, you know, once again, generate some headlines, get some good buzz for New Japan. You could have Archer show up on Strong, you know, get some more eyeballs over to that show as well. So there are definitely options like that. I'm going to still try and be ahead and think the winner of Tanahashi Kenta is going to hop on a plane and face Mox at Resurgence.
Oh my God, if that happened, well, okay, so if it was Kenta, they've already had the first match. Kenta's kind of more established in this market in certain respects, where like with the brand is what I mean. Like he's already done a lot of shows for New Japan Strong and everything like that. So he's kind of embedded into that group as it is.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Kenta were the guy to come back. But if it was Tanahashi, I'm like, damn, I feel that'd be such a, bro, I would lose my mind. But I would also be like, well, why are you guys waiting so long to you know, it's the curse of New Japan's booking, you know?
Right. They have to wait until the match happens.
They don't make announcements until the results of certain big shows occur.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know who could realistically beat Mox for that belt right now with how much they've built it up.
Yeah, that's why I think it has to be somebody like Tanahashi.
That's what well, yeah. But I do think that Archer's not a bad option if you want to transition from an AEW guy that's beatable, you know?
Right, yeah.
But, I mean, Evil is an option.
Ew.
I think I'm just telling you who's at the level. I don't think Great Okan is at the level. I think Evil, Tanahashi, maybe Jeff Cobb.
Yeah, I think Cobb would be a great choice.
Okada, Kenta, Ibushi. So there's like 6 guys there. Suzuki. I'd probably say no to Sonata.
Yeah,
I'd say no to Taichi, no to Kojima, maybe Naito.
What about Sabre? They were supposed to do that Sabre Mox program.
Zack Sabre is a guy. Yeah. So there's there are some names. It's just they don't have anything lined up currently that we can see on, you know, that's been alluded to where, you know, I have reason to think he's dropping the belt at Resurgence, you know?
Right.
But if, you know, if something happens where ZSJ and him lock it up there, maybe, you know, who knows? I like that idea you had. I like the Kenta Tanahashi match idea, but my general thinking right now is, you know, we'll watch AEW this week. That's going to be tomorrow night. That might be a big indication, whatever happens at that show, as to what's going to happen at Resurgence. Worst case scenario. Here's the thing that I would hate the most. Texas Death Match. Good Brothers get involved. Fuck over both of them. Then we get a tag match between Archer and Mox against the Good Brothers in LA.
Yeah.
And I could see that happening.
Yeah, that is the worst case scenario, but we'll see what happens. We'll be all tuned in to Dynamite tomorrow. Last question from Dom Honey 101, but I think we pretty much covered everything here. He says, thoughts on the upcoming IWGP US title match between Jon Moxley and Lance Archer in this upcoming episode of Dynamite. Is it possible that we see a new champion? Who will be the next challenger? So I think we kind of covered all that. Unless you had any other thoughts there.
Look at us being efficient.
Well, since we're talking about U.S. stuff, let's stay in the U.S. and talk about NJPW Strong. So last Friday, we had the first round of the Tag Team Turbulence tournament. So 4 first-round matches on last week's Strong. Opened up with the return of the Good Brothers, first time back in New Japan for quite some time, and they defeat the team of Clark Connors and TJP.
Yeah, look at us being prognosticators, just so accurate. We got all of our picks right, starting off here, knowing that the Good Brothers were going to beat TJP and Clark Connors.
Right, and this has actually been a long-term story that they've been telling with Clark Connors and TJP. These guys were tag team partners in the Super Junior Tag League, and then they started teaming on Strong, and we've noticed some miscommunication and kind of a little bit of an attitude from Connors, and then there was a miscommunication here at the end of this match, which costs them. TJP gets hit with the Magic Killer, 1, 2, 3. Good Brothers advance to the second round of Tag Team Turbulence.
Match was fine. I would go probably just sub 3 stars, honestly. It wasn't anything special, but at the end there, like you mentioned, the miscommunication, I kind of thought that the way they worked that, there was nothing wrong with what was booked, but the way that it was kind of like a weird truncated sort of finish. But I like the idea that they've been, like you mentioned, they've been teasing TJP and Clark Connors for some time now, and this is kind of the impetus to kind of continue that rift and that feud that's probably upcoming between them, and kind of slots the Good Brothers into the next round. So, good bit of storytelling, I suppose.
Yeah, I could see Connors and TJP having a singles match at Resurgence. I think that would be pretty good. And I thought it was very interesting that they pinned TJP instead of Clark Connors. So definitely sees they're kind of protecting the dojo guys and really getting behind the push of Connors here. So I thought that was kind of good to see as well.
Next match of the night, we had Fred Yehi and Wheeler Yuta take on Ren Narita and Yuji Nagata. And this was the match that, for me, was most anticipated, and I also thought delivered the most. Match of the night.
I freaking love this match, man. This was so snug, so hard-hitting, great wrestling. Dude, Freddie Yehi, this guy has been on a roll as of late. He just won a title somewhere at another promotion. I forget which title he won. But this
AAW?
Yes, that's right. The AAW world title. Thanks.
I wasn't even sure if that was the case. I just know he's been very active there.
Yeah, it was the AAW world title he just recently won. He's been on ROH, killing it in the Pure Division. Had a great match with Ray. I think it was Ray Horse this past week. And yeah, I've been loving Yehi on Strong.
All Fred had to do was wait till everyone else that was flashier and more personable than him got signed up, and he was the last man standing because, for better or for worse, he can wrestle better than about 95% of guys out there.
Yeah. And, dude, I love the interactions between him and Nagata. Like, their stuff was just so snug and so slick. Like, after that match, I wanted a Yehi-Nagata singles match.
Yeah, man. I mean, we sing the praises of Strong on here all the time, and it's something I've mentioned is this year just seems to be the year of the shooter, the real workers, the guys that are believable badasses, and Fred Yehi easily fits into that mold. Even Wheeler Yuta to a lesser extent, he's kind of more of a junior guy, but he's so technically, astute. I really like this match, I love the teaming of Yuji Nagata, the old ace teaming up with, the fresh upstart. Kind of reminds me of a very famous match from WCW. I think it's Super Brawl, but I could be wrong. But Steiner Brothers against freaking Fujinami and Iska, a young Iska. And at the time, Iska was like, he was young. It was like 1991. So he's like the future, and he's teaming up with the ace, and this kind of gave me some of those vibes, just that generational gap between them. But everybody here worked super hard. They didn't overstay their welcome. And yeah, I mean, this match was awesome.
Yeah, I love this match. It went about 3.5. When you think that's 11-minute, 3.5 match for an empty arena, I think that's pretty good. Our boy Ren Narita, he gets the win here with the Narita Special number 3. bridging suplex on Wheeler Yuta, and Ren Narita and Yuji Nagata advance into the second round where they will meet the Good Brothers. So then go ahead.
I was just going to say that's a match I'm looking forward to. And I think it's an interesting bit of booking there too.
Yeah. So then the third matchup here, semi-main event, we had the West Coast Wrecking Crew of Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs. They defeated the LA Dojo Young Lion team of Kevin Knight and the DKC 7-man 32 seconds.
Yeah, short night for the LA Dojo Young Lions. Good showing from them. Impressive showing from the West Coast Wrecking Crew once again. They kind of came in with a little bit of momentum. This was good. I mean, this is what you come to expect when it comes to DKC and Kevin Knight. Those guys really can work really well. And, Nelson and Isaacs, like, they fuck people up. Like, it's kind of great. And, yeah, I like this.
Yeah, they have some great double team combo moves. And, yeah, they pretty much, it was somewhat competitive, but for the most part, they were in control and kind of ran through DKC and Kevin Knight here. They used their Death Valley driver onto the knee combo here to pick up the win and move on to the next round.
And then the main event, the match that was probably most in question, we had a bit of a what's the word? I don't know. What's it called when like two teams don't like a grudge match? Bit of a grudge match.
Bit of a rivalry here.
Yeah, rivalry with Team Filthy's Danny Limelight and JR Kratos taking on Violence Unlimited's Brody King and Chris Dickinson. And a lot of history here.
Yeah, and also this is kind of one of the foundational feuds of this year of Strong. You had Chris Dickinson coming in as a part of Team Filthy with Limelight, Kratos, and Filthy Tom Lawler. And then, Violence Unlimited formed in Ring of Honor, and Dickinson joining up with Brody King, Homicide, and Tony Deppen. And we kind of saw the tension there, that being brought up on Strong, which then led to Dickinson getting the Strong title match against Lawler, and kind of the feud there with Brody King and his crew against Team Filthy as well. So all that history, Limelight being the one to low blow Dickinson, and they threw Dickinson out, Team Filthy, all that kind of bubbled up and boiled over here into this matchup.
Yeah, and this was one that was, lived up to its billing as the main event. I thought it was a fitting main event. Grudge match, big boys, big meaty men slapping meat,
Yes. Yeah, these guys were very, very hard-hitting. I mean, Chris Dickinson, this guy's just always super intense, and the work rate's always super high. I love Brody King, bringing his energy, and always like kind of cheering on his teammate throughout the match, bringing that energy with obviously still empty arena for only a few more weeks. But yeah, Brody bringing that energy and doing some great stuff there. And just to get, when Brody and JR Kratos are in the ring, how they started off the match, just throwing lariats and picking up from their last singles match, and they were just kind of going at it, kind of a never style opening to the match there.
Yeah, the match continued on. The ending here, we saw wheelbarrow German suplex where they dumped Chris Dickinson, and then Brody King took JR Kratos outside for a big tope. Limelight tried to go for a low blow against Dickinson, which was kind of the big playoff of the feud between them, since he had, when they kicked him out of Team Filthy, that's sort of the move that he'd used to do that.
Yeah.
Dickinson blocked it, ended up waffling Limelight with a lariat, hits him with the German suplex. Then he gets a running Death Valley driver for the win. Really good match. And yeah, the Ring of Honor team gets the win here.
Yeah, I would also go 3.5 on this matchup. So Violence Unlimited, they go into the second round. They'll face off the West Coast Wrecking Crew. So next week on Strong, it's the 50th episode of New Japan Strong. We will have Ren Narita and Nagata versus the Good Brothers. We'll have the West Coast Wrecking Crew versus Violence Unlimited. And then the main event will be for the Strong Openweight title. Filthy Tom will defend against my man, Satoshi Kojima.
Yeah, this is a great 50th episode lineup. And if you kind of look at the teams, now I know you can make arguments because obviously the wrestling world's a little more open than we've been accustomed to the past few years. But I mean, if you think about it, you've got, sitting at the top of the block, you've got essentially an Impact / AEW tag team. Then you've got a pure New Japan Pro Wrestling tag team facing off against them. And then on the other side of the bracket, you've got essentially an independent wrestling tag team taking on two guys signed to Ring of Honor. I mean, they've really kind of mismatched a lot of the different flavors of various different affiliations and groups here. I love it. And then obviously everyone's excited for Lawler and Kojima. So, I mean, just an awesome lineup for the 50th episode.
Yeah, man. So prediction time. Who you got going into the finals for Tag Team Turbulence?
Yeah, so it's been tough. After watching this, and where's the finals going to take place?
That is not announced. I believe, I would think maybe it happens at Resurgence.
Yeah, that seems like it's a strong possibility. Because I wasn't sure if it was going to continue till the next week.
It could. They haven't been clear when it's happening.
Right. So before I throw out my possibilities, let's just talk some scenarios here. I think that there's a distinct possibility that Nagata and Narita could possibly win their side. But no matter what happens, I don't think that they're going to win the Tag Team Turbulence either way.
Right, because that would mean Nagata would have to come back to the U.S., which he could, but I don't know.
Well, it also means they could have taped, if it's not happening at Resurgence and it's happening, the finals are taking place the very next week, since it's just a tournament, maybe he's already won it.
Right, yeah.
But if it is, a live thing at Resurgence, then that would kind of be the big giveaway. And maybe that's why they haven't announced where the finals are taking place,
Right.
I would love the idea of Nagata and Narita winning the whole thing, but given how dominant throughout the year the Good Brothers have been and their placement, I think they're probably going to the finals.
Yeah, I would go with Good Brothers here as well. They've done a lot to kind of hype up their return to New Japan. And, Anderson just had the U.S. title match. I feel like they're doing a lot with the Good Brothers. And so.
Right. On the other side of things, you've got the West Coast Wrecking Crew and Violence Unlimited. And for me, I would be really surprised if the West Coast Wrecking Crew picked up the win here. If it ended up being Narita and Nagata in an upset role, then I could maybe potentially see Nelson and Isaacs being head-to-head with them. But I'm going to favor Violence Unlimited here. And I could actually see Violence Unlimited going up against either tag team on the other side in a fitting final. So for that reason, I think it's going to end up being Good Brothers and Violence Unlimited in the finals.
Yeah, if Narita and Nagata did win, there is history between Narita and Dickinson that they could pull into that matchup. But yeah, I do think probably the quote-unquote money match here would be the Good Brothers versus Violence Unlimited. So you end up with like an Impact / AEW ROH finals.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. But at the end of the day, the way that they're kind of marketing all this, these guys are all sort of becoming New Japan Strong guys, which, we've talked about the nature of this show and how it's like this weird amalgamation of all these different groups and, all that. So I guess for now we'll leave it at that. That's the finals we're both predicting. Let's talk about the main event here. The world's strongest arm, strongest clothesline, the Western Lariat, Bread Club.
Yeah, man.
Satoshi Kojima.
Bread Club Summer of Cozy.
Olds on top.
Yes, this 2021. Olds on top.
And he will be taking on the reigning, defending, undisputed New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Openweight Champion, Filthy Tom Lawler.
Man, my heart wants to say that Kojima would win this. My brain is telling me that Filthy Tom will retain and walk into Resurgence as a strong openweight champion.
Yeah, this is an easy prediction for me. Filthy Tom Lawler is winning this, and the big question is, how good is the match, and what will that match even look like? And that's been the real curiosity factor for me, is just how these two kind of align when it comes to a stylistic standpoint. That's really where the intrigue is. Plus, first time matchup ever. And if you also think about the time that both of them have sort of spent in MLW, there's sort of that dream match aspect as well.
Two former MLW champions, yeah.
So that should be really cool. I'm expecting great things from that match. The big question for me at the end of the day isn't whether or not Filthy Tom Lawler wins this. It's what happens after the match is over. We've seen in the past where there have been challenges kind of laid out by the likes of Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson and Carl Fredericks, and then Satoshi Kojima, kind of following that trend. And we're not that far off from Resurgence, so the status of the title at that point is sort of in question. I'm very I know on this show, of course, we get questions all the time. Who's going to challenge next? What's next for the champion? And, those questions are always valid, but I'm always just like, we don't know, But in this situation with the big show coming up, we really don't know. So, I mean, what do you see on the horizon as, a potential, what's your prediction? What are you kind of guessing happens after that match is over?
The one guy I feel like could get the shot they've been building is Mr. No Days Off, Fred Rosser. He won the big no DQ match with Hikuleo. He's kind of stood up against Team Filthy. He's been buddying up with Adrian Quest, helping him fight off against Bateman and Barrett Brown. And so I feel like he's been getting a lot of big wins. He's a guy they've been pushing. I think he could be the next guy in line.
Yeah, that would make sense. Is that what you would do if you were doing this show? I mean, at this point, the tickets are sold for the most part. You know.
Yeah, I mean, personally, that's not what I would book, like from a personal standpoint. But I mean, if you look at booking, what they've done on TV, what they've done on the show, they have built Rosser as a credible guy. So I think it makes a ton of sense to go with Rosser.
Yeah, I can't really argue with you there. And once you mentioned his name, I could see that being the case. I just personally see him as more of a TV challenger, though. Big show like this, they're offering a fight and everything like that. Yeah, I'm just not sure if New Japan has a good enough grasp on the market and the reception of particular guys. I mean, it feels like this is another case where they've kind of gone in on Fred Rosser, and like I've mentioned, they've done a good job with him, great job with him, and he's done a great job with himself. But I see him as more of a TV level challenger at this point. I don't think there's enough juice behind it for me to kind of invest in that as a match for a big show like this. But then again, it's probably going to be third or second from the top, so maybe it's fine. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think I might be wrong, but isn't Rosser from California or from around that area?
He may be. I don't actually know the answer to that. And then there's the other fact that Fred Rosser has, worked WWE, and sometimes I feel like with New Japan, they see guys that have come from WWE and they kind of hold them to a higher regard,
Yeah, I remember Billy Gunn got a IC title shot in LA.
That's exactly what I was thinking of specifically. And then, we've seen them kind of give Mikey Nichols especially when he first came in, a lot of early opportunities, and I think a lot of that was built off the fact that he came from WWE,
Right.
But we'll see what happens. I mean, at the same time, it's hard for me to kind of argue against him not being the challenger. Just looking at the layout within New Japan Strong, there isn't really anyone else that's been built as a singles guy the same way he has, and he's definitely going to be on the show. He's on the poster.
Right. And
Lawler's makes sense.
And Lawler's already beaten Brody in the New Japan Cup Finals. He's already beaten Dickinson. He's beaten Fredericks. He's probably going to beat Kojima here. So he's beating a lot of the top guys that they have on Strong. He's the one guy that's been built that he has not beaten yet.
The other possibility is an outsider. Someone from New Japan, or maybe AEW, or maybe MLW, or maybe Impact, Ring of Honor. There's a lot of potential options on the table, but I think, you're probably right. It probably will be Fred Rosser, and I think that's something to look out for this coming Friday.
Grand Carnival is taking over Kings Island from July 17th through August 1st. Experience the opening celebration at 5 p.m. when the park erupts with sights, sounds, and flavors from all around the world. Join the spectacle of color, a dazzling parade of floats, performers, music, and beats that sweeps across the park. And enjoy unique food, drinks, and fireworks while dancing to music until the park closes. Don't miss the celebration as big as the park. Right now, everyone pays kids price. Kings Island tickets just $45 online.
If you've been a renter, you know it's stressful to find the perfect place. But Zillow Rentals make it easy. They have filters for pretty much everything, so you can find a rental that's big enough for entertaining your friends, but small enough they won't crash all weekend. Find your sweet spot on ZillowRentals.com.
Nice. Well, let's head over to Japan, talk about what's going on over there. So first, we got to talk about the Summer Struggle at Korakuen Hall that happened this past weekend. So the show opened up with the Bullet Club team of Dick Togo, Evil, Kenta, and Yujiro Takahashi defeating the team of Hiroshi Tanahashi, Tomohiro Ishii, Yota Tsuji, and Yuya Uemura. 12 minutes and 56 seconds. Good opener here. Also continuing the feuds between Kenta and Tanahashi, Evil, Ishii. This one getting very personal. These guys, starting the match off, kind of running to the ring and kind of brawling from the very get-go. But in the end, it was the Bullet Club team that got the win. So,
good opener.
Not too much to say there.
I mean, obviously, we're building to Ishii versus Evil, and then Tanahashi against Kenta. So, I'm always in favor of Ishii and Tanahashi tagging with one another. One of those feuds sounds funner than the other one does, but we'll see how they both play out.
Yep, and then we move on to the second matchup. We had Minoru Suzuki and the Dangerous Tekkers defeating the LIJ team of Bushi, Sanada, and Tetsuya Naito. 13 minutes and 29 seconds.
Who do you think has the better pecs? Seiya Sanada or Taichi?
I don't know, man. That's a close one. But I think I have to go Sanada. I think he's a little bit more ripped, a little bit more defined than Taichi.
Yeah, they started off the match kind of with a pose off, flexing their pecs, letting the people know what's up.
Yeah, and then when the match actually started, we started off with Naito and Sabre, which has kind of been the whole story there of them kind of avoiding each other. And Sabre really wants to, get it to Naito now since Naito pinned him in the tag title match, and then Naito tagged out quickly. And so we saw a lot of bantering and a lot of, funny business between Naito and Sabre in this match.
Yeah, I thought the idea of having Taichi and ZSJ win with one of their combination finishers, great move, on the road to a rematch between these two teams. And it's hard for me to imagine that they don't end up having a better match in the Tokyo Dome than the one that they already had. Because while that match was great, just the prolonged nature of it, they're not going to need to do all of that. I feel like they can cut out some of the bone and just leave the meat for us, in the Tokyo Dome.
Right, and they will be the semi-main, so I don't think they're going to have to go 30 minutes. So it might be a shorter match, which could make it better as well. But like you mentioned, Dangerous Tekkers, they hit the Zack Mephisto here on Bushi to get the win.
Next match, we had Roppongi 3K teaming up with Chaos stablemate Robbie Eagles to take on the Suzuki-gun team of El Desperado, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Doki.
Yeah, so Chaos Juniors versus Ichigun Juniors. It was Eagle's first match in Japan since last December when he was there for the Best of the Super Junior Tour. So back here, also getting ready to face off against Desperado at Wrestle Grand Slam in the Tokyo Dome. I thought this was a good preview match. A little bit high pace here, but with these 6 juniors, and really made Robbie Eagles look good here. Hits the turbo backpack fall by the Ron Miller special on Doki to get the win.
Yeah, this match was the cleanest match of the night, and it was really just an opportunity to kind of make Robbie Eagles in his return look like a viable contender and challenger. Everybody got their stuff in, but he's the one that really, shined in this match. And some of the sequences that he had with Desperado, that's kind of a style matchup that we've seen them wrestle before, but it's not one where I'm like, begging to see the match. But based off what we saw in this match, the sequences they had, I think that I'm now starting to really look forward to this match between these two guys.
Yeah. And I want to give a shout out to Doki because he did have me biting on a near fall. He hit the Daybreak DDT on Eagles, and I know he wasn't going to win, but it was like Eagles kicked out 2.9, and I think Daybreak is one of his secondary finishers, so I thought he was going to get an upset win for a second there.
Yeah, and this undercard of the 3 matches on the undercard, while on paper it just looks like your standard Road 2 show, I mean, we got pretty varied stuff. The opening contest, very hate-filled, a lot of cheating, everything like that. And then the second match of the night, a lot of comedy. And then the third match of the night with the juniors, started with a clean tie-up. So, you kind of got a lot of variety between the different matches on the show. A lot of good wrestling, too.
Yeah. So then we move on to the semi-main event, first of 2 singles matches that will be building up the upcoming junior tag title match. So we had Ryusuke Taguchi taking on the Bone Soldier Taiji Ishimori. And Ishimori coming in this match, he's won all 3 prior singles meetings against Taguchi.
Yeah, this was Ryusuke Taguchi's first singles match since December of 2020. So, not only is the man coming in, off of a losing record all time to Ishimori, but he hasn't even wrestled anybody of note since December. Not just New Japan, anywhere.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel like he's had a lighter schedule this far this year. I feel like he's missed a few tours. But yeah, I thought he looked good in this match here. He targeted the leg of Ishimori to try to set up the Oh My God ankle lock. And then, of course, with Taguchi, we had a lot of, backside-based offense and Taguchi targeting the backside of, Ishimori targeting the backside of Taguchi.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we've come to learn when it comes to Taguchi. When called upon to have a good match, he's still more than capable of it. And Ishimori is one of the best in the world. All the previous matches that they've had, I've always found to be pretty enjoyable. This one included. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was like a match of the year contender or anything, of that nature. It wasn't, but the match was pretty exciting. Both guys able to go toe to toe with one another, stride for stride. But the big thing with Taguchi, he's always kind of a wild card when it comes to Ishimori, just because he's so unpredictable, and the comedy, and the unexpected aspects of his offense are kind of what really played a role here. And then aside from that, the submissions, which were a big part of the story in this match.
Yeah, also setting up, Taguchi going for the ankle lock and Ishimori going for either the yes lock or the bone lock. And so trying to set that up. And then in the end here, Ishimori gets the win with a handful of tights. Rolls through a counter reversal of the Dodon. Handful of tights, 1, 2, 3. Taguchi gets the win.
Yeah, I was going to say, you said Ishimori got the win. I was like, no, Ishimori didn't win.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, it was Taguchi that got the win. With the
Taguchi went for the Dodon. Ishimori countered that into a sunset flip. And Taguchi, was holding Taguchi down for a pin. And he was pulling the tights, and the momentum just kind of continued through to where Taguchi's entire bare ass was exposed, and that man literally sat on Ishimura's face for the 1, 2, 3, which was, I don't know,
shoot stink face.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
And then Red Shoes was trying to cover up Taguchi. And then after the match, Taguchi was trying to give him another stink face, and then we get the Heyman special. ELP comes down. He runs out to break up the stink face, and he's attacking Taguchi 2-on-1. And then Rocky Romero comes out, fights him off, hits a big tope con hilo, smashes into the guardrails, and we get the match starting. Our main event: ELP versus Rocky Romero. ELP's got a 2-1 lead in the series between these guys here. But also kind of the most notable match at 2019 Best of the Super Junior matchup, which was also a Korakuen main event.
Yeah, with the fact that these tag team members are going to be facing off in reversed roles in the upcoming shows, we shouldn't have been surprised that they kind of did this transitional segment, especially since when we've had junior tag team singles matches back to back like this, they seem to do it every single time, and I always seem to forget that they've done it in the past, and then I'm like, oh yeah, they've done this like multiple times at this point, so we kind of should have seen it coming.
Yeah, and a really good match here. ELP, working the Dermis Destroyer, scratching the back of Rocky. He's also working over the arm of Rocky, several times, looking for the CR2. Rocky with a lot of great counters there. Rocky also trying to work over the arm for the arm bar. That was a big spot. The arm bar is what tapped out ELP in the 2019 Best Super Junior main event. So he was looking for that as well.
But the main thing here, beyond all that, is Rocky's mission to expose the sudden impact.
Yeah, the sudden death super kick from
sudden death. Yeah, I forget what it's called.
From ELP. So yeah, definitely going after the boot there, trying to expose that there's something inside the boot of ELP. And this thing, it went 30 minutes. We got a 30-minute draw here. In the closing stretch, Taguchi came up with the white towel. He was going to get ready to throw the towel. He did throw a towel in, but ELP caught it, threw it out the way, hit the super kick, but he didn't quite hit him in the right spot, and time expired.
Yeah, I thought that these guys had a very good match. I wouldn't call it great. I don't think it reached the lofty levels of several of their previous encounters, but it was a nice addition to the ongoing rivalry between Rocky Romero and ELP. And it's nice to see a serious wrestler single star Rocky Romero, because we've kind of gotten a lot of that this past year in MLW and AEW and New Japan Strong, but it's kind of rare to be seeing that in New Japan proper, unless it's like a Super Juniors tournament. So that was kind of nice. And they did a great job playing off of all the previous iterations of sequences that they've had in the feud thus far,
Yeah, I thought it was a really good match. I think it definitely would have benefited with a hot Korakuen crowd, but we did have a sellout here for Korakuen for this show. First packed Korakuen in a while.
But it was like 600 some odd, right?
Yeah.
684. So it's like they must be running like a really limited arrangement.
Yeah, but I feel like it's definitely one of the fuller houses we've had in a while. They didn't have like the black tarp thing up, and so
right.
So yeah, good house for pandemic standards, and I wish they could have just been vocal, because I think they would have been into this matchup here with reactions.
Yeah, this match went the full 30 minutes, and we've kind of talked in the past about how New Japan seems to be plagued with 30-minute main events, and obviously when it's a title match, they get the full 60. So when they're going 30 and 30 plus, there's no threat of a time limit draw. But we've seen a couple times this past year where they had multi-man tag team matches in the main event of Korakuen Halls that went the full 30. So with this one, once it got to like that 3-minute call and they started, 3 minutes, it was like, oh shit, they might be going to, a draw. And I feel like since they've done a few of them in Korakuen, I don't know, it's double-edged. On the one hand, you kind of feel like it might happen, and since you've seen it happen, you're almost a little disappointed that it's going to happen that way. But then on the other hand, it really adds to the drama because they have done it, and it is a possibility, and you don't know for sure if it's going to happen or not, or whether someone's going to pull it out at the end of there. So, a little bit of a conundrum with the drama, sort of at the end there.
Yeah. Post match here, ELP goes to try to hit a sudden death on I think he's trying to hit it on Rocky again, but then Taguchi comes out, makes a save, and cuts a promo on these guys post match. So I'll see, probably saying they're going to win the junior tag title, something like that, for Wrestle Grand Slam.
Yeah. One of the things this match didn't. The setup to the match with the run-ins and everything, and then the match itself didn't necessarily make me excited for the next set of singles matches between these guys, but it did add to the nature of the junior tag team title match that's upcoming, which I think is the whole point here. And one of the things, like the Mega Coaches, while they are an established tag team, they're very, very much an infrequent tag team.
Right.
We haven't, we've only seen them when they're basically doing big title matches and things like that. And it's, few and far between. So to kind of see them interacting, bonding, and, striving together sort of adds to the allure of, what they are as a team and everything like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. The ending of the match was really interesting, where ELP was trying to hit the sudden death, and then Taguchi came out, threw the towel, and I was like, is he giving up for Rocky? But
yeah.
It seemed more like a distractionary tactic at that point.
Yeah. Kind of like he knew that ELP would try and stop him from throwing a towel in. That would buy Rocky some more time.
Yeah. One thing, when there was a point where ELP did the Styles Clash instead of the CR2.
Oh, yeah, that was a great spot, because he was going for CR2. Rocky was going to reverse it into a Rana, and then he stopped the Rana and hit the Styles Clash.
Yeah, but once the follow-up came after that, and he's just moving at the slowest pace any human has ever moved, I was like, oh, they're going to the time limit draw. Like, this is it.
Yeah, but to me, this match didn't even feel like it was 30 minutes. I kind of got like thrown off when it was like 3 minutes. I was like, what?
Yeah, I kind of thought that the finish was a little bit, I don't know, just kind of like combobulated. Like, you had Taguchi running out and the towel and then the timer and everything like that. Like, I don't know, it felt a little flat for me. I don't know.
It's a little flat, a little clunky. I wish they would have gone a more traditional route, just having these guys kind of hitting a bunch of reversals of their finish. And then maybe you have like ELP hit the sudden death, like the last second, not even get the pinfall, but hit it like perfectly, and then time expires.
Yeah, it's like they were trying to do too much all at the same time, was kind of the problem. You've got the issue where the coaches are trying to figure out, ELP's boot situation and kind of bringing everyone's focus and attention to that. But then you're also trying to do the time limit draw, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that wraps up the summer struggle that happened at Korakuen Hall this past weekend. Now, young boy, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 big shows happening this week that we have to preview and give predictions for. So, first on the docket, we have Summer Struggle in Osaka. Night 1 is happening on Thursday, 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Show's going to open up with Chaos, Robbie Eagle, Sho and Yo taking on Sugun of Doki, Despi, and Kanemaru. Then we'll have Ishii and Yoshihashi taking on Ishii, Yoshihashi, and Tanahashi taking on the Bullet Club team of Evil, Kenta, and Yujiro.
I was going to say, Tanahashi's great, but he's not that great.
Tanahashi joined the Bullet Club. Then we'll have Goto and Okada taking on the Great Okan, Jeff Cobb. Then Kota Ibushi will team with Master Wato to take on Bushi and Shingo. And then the two big matches here, semi-main event, we'll have Zack Sabre Jr. versus Sonata, and the main event, Taichi versus Tetsuya Naito. So I guess we just need to get predictions for the big matches here. So who you got for Sabre and Sonata and Taichi and Naito?
I got Sabre over Sonata and then Naito over Taichi, I guess.
Yeah, that probably seems to be the thing that makes the most sense, especially since Sabre was the one that got pinned in the tag match. You might want to rebuild him and his hunt to try and get Naito. And since he's facing Naito in the main event the following night, it probably makes sense to have him going in with a win.
I just picked who I like. The next night, Summer Struggle in Osaka Night 2, we've got the cast team of Goto and Rocky Romero, and Taguchi teaming up to take on the Bullet Club team of Phantasmo, Jado, and Taichi Ishimori. After that, Chaos Tag Team action as Ishii and Yano team up with Hiroshi Tanahashi to battle the Bullet Club team of Evil, Kenta, and Yujiro Takahashi. Third match of the night, Chaos team of Okada and Yoshihashi will tag team against the United Empire, Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb. Fourth match of the night, Kota Ibushi and Master Wato will tag team to take on Bushi and Shingo Takagi. And then the top two matches, the semi-main event is Taichi against Sonata. The main event is Naito against Zack Sabre Jr. So I've been misunderstanding. I've been talking this whole time like the coaches were going to take on the Bullet Club team in singles action again, huh?
Yeah, that's not happening. At least not on anything televised.
Yeah, I was confusing that with this feud.
Oh,
so the whole time I'm thinking like that they're going to do exactly what we've just described here with Dangerous Tekkers and LIJ. That's my bad.
Gotcha. I just thought you were talking about like down a lot, like even future matches. I thought you meant like...
No, I thought that was next on the docket. I was like looking at these cards. I'm like, so when's that happen?
But yeah, rematch. Well, not rematch, but flip-flop here with the Tekkers, Taichi and Sonata, Naito and Sabre. For the main event, I'll go with Sabre getting the win back on Naito. Semi-main event, I feel like it can go either way, but if Naito's losing, I'm going to go with Sonata winning.
That seems fine. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen here? Maybe we'll get a 30-minute time limit draw in the main event.
Oh, boy. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Well, then moving on to the third big show of this week, coming up on Saturday, 4 a.m. Eastern Time, Summer Struggle in Nagoya. We'll have, once again, Eagle, Sho, and Yo taking on Doki, Despi, and Kanemaru. We'll have Rocky Romero, Tomohiro Ishii, Yoshihashi, and Taguchi taking on the Bullet Club, ELP, Jado, Ishimori, and Yujiro. We'll have Okada and Toru Yano taking on Great O'Khan, Jeff Cobb, Ibushi, and Wato against Bushi and Shingo. And then in the semi-main event, we'll have Tomohiro Ishii versus Evil. And then in the main event, Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kenta.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a bigger night in a certain sense, just because this is the payoff to two of the big singles feuds that they've been building up here. And looking forward to both matches. I think the main event, in my estimation, should be better than Ishii and Evil. But it's hard to say because it is Ishii, and he's been known to, pull greatness out of multiple people, especially Evil. And every once in a while, Evil will put in a vintage performance. But at the same time, I don't think we've seen too much of that from him since he turned to the dark side and became a Bullet Club member. So I don't really know what to expect here. I'm guessing bullshit and shenanigans, as is per custom for him.
Yeah, I think if they can keep shenanigans down to a minimum, we could have a good matchup here. I mean, we've seen Ishii against Bullet Club leaders like Jay White, where there's a lot of ref bumps and Gato running in. So he's made it work. So I think if we can keep the bumps down to a minimum, keep Dick Togo out as much as possible, we could get something good here.
I guess if that's the best we could possibly hope for in a situation like this, is keep it to a minimum.
Right.
That's the best we're hoping for. But at the end of the day, I think Evil's picking up the win here. He desperately needs it, and that's what I'm expecting.
Yeah, Evil winning makes the most sense here, and then you could potentially have him go into some kind of title picture out of this match.
After that, we have the main event, Hiroshi Tanahashi against Kenta, and this is a pick'em match at this point. There's a part of me that feels like this could be an all BC night, but then I'm like, do I really want to discount the ace, And it feels like what's next on the docket? I'm guessing probably the G1.
Yeah, that's the next kind of big thing on the horizon.
What are you thinking here?
So like I was saying earlier, like to me, I feel like this could end up being like a de facto U.S. title #1 contendership match. And with Tanahashi being featured on the Resurgence commercials, but not officially announced, I think that might have been like a little breadcrumb that Tanahashi is going to be on the show. So I'm going to go with Tanahashi beating Kenta here to then go to face Jon Moxley in Resurgence.
Well, I would love if that ends up being the case. Something tells me if Tanahashi ends up on the show, they might need to, that venue, they're close to sold out. Not quite, but they can actually expand the seating chart if need be. And something tells me that if Tanahashi's announced, that might be the case. But, we kind of saw, even when New Japan was a little bit of a hotter product here in this in the States, we saw them struggle to really sell, what did they do in Dallas a couple years ago? Was it like 6,000-7,000, something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Which is significant. That's not a bad number, but for what
in that building, yeah. In
that building, what it holds and what they were, I think they were situated for more like a 10,000-ish type of arrangement. Him and Okada on top kind of struggled to produce that kind. I guess what I'm really getting at is Mox against Tanahashi sounds like a huge first-time main event, and I'm wondering, like, is that something that's going to boost ticket sales? To some extent, I think it will. How much, I'm not sure. I'm also wondering if maybe they would be throwing that match away by giving it away there, as opposed to if you did have Kenta come back and he's the challenger. That is a match we've already seen draw. But you're also not burning it because it's already happened, and he could be a very viable, next champion if he were to be the guy to beat Moxley. So hard for me to say at this point. But that little Easter egg you mentioned, and I forgot about it till you brought it up in the air. I heard about it, but yeah, the fact that he's featured in the commercial and they haven't officially announced him, that might be the little bit of a tell. So. I'm going to ride with you. I'm going to go for the ace. 'Cause he's one of my all-time favorites, but I won't be surprised if it's all BC that night.
Yeah, I mean, this is a match, like you said, it's a pick-em. This match could go either way. I feel like both guys need a big win. They've kind of been on the back burner and kind of floundering since both of their failed title matches, since, Tanahashi lost the Never title to Jay, and since Kenta failed to get the U.S. title from Moxley. They've both kind of just been, in the mid-card or upper card, just kind of in random matches, no programs really.
Well, we will see what happens, but let's move on to the big show, Wrestle Grand Slam in the Tokyo Dome on July 25th, this coming Saturday. We have, for the first time since it seems like forever, at least the mid-2000s, a Tokyo Dome show not on January 4th for New Japan. And we're going to open the show up with the pre-show New Japan Rambo with handcuffs for the provisional KOPW 2021 trophy. Toru Yano will defend the provisional championship in the Rambo match where handcuffs will be legal. Eliminations in the Rambo can take place by pinfall, submission, DQ, being thrown over the top rope, or being handcuffed to the ropes or the ringside area. Handcuffs won by a margin of 12,100 votes. That's 76.3% to the 23% for whatever the other one was. I don't remember.
The blindfolds.
Yeah, I was worried about the blindfolds because I was like, are they going to get blindfolded and then tossed over the top rope? I gotta assume that whatever blindfolds they use are always gimmicked, and you can actually see through them. Hopefully,
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah,
but who knows?
Or they could be strong style blindfold.
Yeah, you gotta make it real, you know.
Yeah. So we got the handcuffs. That's probably the better option of the two.
I don't give a fuck about this match.
Yeah, it's gonna be whatever. Yano's gonna win. So
it used to be about the, being for the pride of the Rambo itself. Now it's about this, Toriano trophy. Like I don't and handcuffs. What's that about? I don't want handcuffs.
This sounds like some Togoism.
I want Kabuki to come down to the ring and chop people, and get pinned. I want, Scott Norton to come down. I want Cheeseburger. Okay. I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
It's not my Rambo.
Well, it's on the pre-show, and so, it can exist in its own little world. And then the main show will kick off with the IWGP Junior Tag Team title match as El Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori.
No predictions there?
I said Toriano's going to win.
Oh, yeah, I agree. My bad.
Sorry. But yeah, ELP and Taiji will defend the titles against our good friend Rocky Romero and Ryusuke Taguchi, the Mega Coaches.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty obvious what's going to happen here. They've been avoiding it like the plague. El Phantasmo is going to hit the sudden death on Rocky Romero and dash their dreams of tag team gold.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned earlier, Mega Coaches never really, winning a title or not kind of having few big matches. And so part of me is thinking maybe you switch the belts, but then I'm thinking, Rocky eventually has to go back to LA. Do you want to put junior tag titles on him and wait till he comes back to do something with it? So, yeah, Bullet Club, ELP, and Taiji retaining here is probably the most logistical answer here.
I think all that makes sense, but I think the payoff for the match itself is the sudden death. That's the main impetus for the feud. They want to expose it to the world. Maybe they do expose. Now, if they do expose it, that might be a different deal altogether. I wouldn't get rid of the gimmick. The thing is if they expose it, the gimmick's kind of donezo,
Right.
But I think the thing is they're going to be focusing in on that. I think he's eventually going to hit Rocky with it, and that's going to be it.
What if they do get the boot off of ELP? There's nothing there, but Taiji has a sudden death loaded in his boot, and he hits them with it, and they win that way.
Well, yeah. Then the question is, how would we know?
Right. Well, Taiji can do the same kind of stomp motion, load up, and then.
I guess, but then he's kind of infringing on ELP's gimmick. I don't know. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
I think the simplest thing here is ELP, he's going to hit Rocky with that boot, and he's going to put him to sleep. I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, probably the most easiest way to get the win there.
After that, we've got continued junior action as the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion El Desperado defends the title against the number one contender, Robbie Eagles.
So yeah, this should be a pretty good matchup. These guys had a good matchup in the Best of the Super Junior at the end of last year. The preview matches have been looking good as well. I think Despy's going to retain here. I think it makes the most sense to keep the belt on Despy until you can do the Hiromu rematch. And you got the big Dome shows coming up in September, the other Wrestle Grand Slam shows, and so you need some big matches. So I think Despy and Hiromu could be a big match for one of those shows.
Yeah, I agree with what you said there. I also don't feel as though New Japan has full confidence in Robbie Eagles as the junior champion at this time. It's not to say that he's not favored. Clearly, they like him. They keep bringing him back. But based off how he was booked in that last Super Juniors, it kind of told me what I needed to know about where he stood within the company. And, I think the main reason he's getting this title opportunity is just the lack of challengers and the fact that he's kind of been on the burner for most of the year. And the opportunity kind of arose, and he's the one guy that, can go out there and put on a really great show and hasn't been overexposed or, anything like that. So, I think the match is going to be great. I think Desperado retains. I think this will do a lot for Robbie Eagles if they go out there and they have a great match. And don't get me wrong, when I say that he's not going to win the title here, that doesn't mean he won't ever win the title. I'm not saying that. I just don't think right now, as it stands in July 2021, that the company has intentions to put that strap on him right now.
Right, and you made a good point of looking back to how he was booked in Best of Super Juniors. He was in a lot of mid-card matches, not a lot of main events. Got a lot of 10 to 12 minute matches.
He was booked like 500. Almost the whole tournament.
Yeah, 50-50 probably. I think got like 8 whatever the mid points was for that tournament. Wasn't a high scorer. So typically a guy you look back to guys like Will Ospreay who got the junior title pretty quickly. He was booked favorably in some of the Special Super Juniors before he won the title.
Well, Robbie Eagles had good scores in Super Juniors tournaments in the past, but this past one was a little surprising to me where he had very few, like you mentioned, 50-50, very few main events. So Viking Payne asked us, Robbie Eagles not being in New Japan for over a year, but waiting for the Tokyo Dome to issue his challenge has to make him one of the smartest men in wrestling kayfabe-wise, right?
Well, I think Robbie pays attention to the product. He knows in New Japan, there are no, rankings. It's not AEW. There's no ranking, no stats. You just come out there and you challenge somebody and you get a title match.
Yeah. You come out and you say, I got next. When I was in college, we had a ping pong table in one of the student centers. And I spent many an hours, playing there. It wasn't based on rankings. It wasn't based on, wins and losses. It was, if you win, you're on the table. And then someone walks in, they're like, I got next. And all right, you're next in line. And then there's 5 guys ahead of you. You got to wait till they all got their asses whooped. And, and then it was your turn. And that's just kind of how it worked. And I think most of New Japan is run on dibs. The IWGP seems to be a very hands-off group. They don't interfere a lot. They don't really even have a Jack Tunney to, order title matches or anything. They kind of operate in the shadows, and I think they let the inmates run the asylum a little bit.
Yeah, they don't want to get their hands dirty. Let the guys kind of figure it out. They'll make the matches and just let them do their thing.
Now, the Never Committee, that's a different story. They've been phenomenal. Okay, look at what they've been all the sanctioned matches that they've done this year with the 6-man tags. God.
Yeah, they're on a roll.
Yeah, absolutely. Next match of the night is third from the top, Kazuchika Okada in a Tokyo Dome, third from the top. That's a little surprising. He'll be a special singles match against Jeff Cobb.
Yeah, it's always weird seeing Okada not in a title match. It's weird seeing him not in a title match in the Dome. It's going to be weird seeing him third from the top in the Dome, but this should be an excellent match between him and Jeff Cobb. Like we talked about with Cobb. Cobb has just been on a roll, turning heel, being a part of the United Empire. He's been having some great matches. This year alone, you look at the Shingo match at the beginning of the year. You look at the Ibushi match just happened about a month or so ago. And this guy's just kind of been on fire. Him and Okada have been a great team. United Empire's picked up a lot of steam this year, and so I feel it's going to be a breakout moment for Cobb, and Cobb's a great dance partner to have.
Yeah. It's an old adage that I've had on the show. You don't bet against the ace in the Dome. That hasn't always played out quite that way, but for the most part, you really don't.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. For me, I could see some title changes taking place on the show, but for the most part, I'm pretty much predicting, in all likelihood, most of, if not all, the titles being retained, which is a little surprising. A Tokyo Dome show is the type of show where you see a lot of title challenges take place, so it does make me a little remiss in my predictions. Now, this match in particular is not a title match, but it is one that makes me kind of wonder, even though a title's not on the line, is there a chance that we could see Jeff Cobb pick up the biggest win of his career in defeating Kazuchika Okada? They've fought before in the G1, and Jeff Cobb's never defeated Okada. But, it's a different guy. He's kind of on a tear right now. I'm going to say no. Okada, wins, but going into the G1, Okada, eating a loss to Jeff Cobb, that would do a lot for Cobb, and it would also kind of add to that redemption arc for Okada heading into the G1 this year. So there's a part of me that kind of sees the upside in maybe having Jeff Cobb win here, but I don't know. It's just hard for me to ever bet against Okada in this company.
Yeah, and let's play into a question down home. We want to ask, how possible is it to see Jeff Cobb upset Okada and then challenge the winner of the main event? And so we do have those 2 Wrestle Grand Slam shows before G1. So you need some big matches there. I mean, they could do a Cobb Shingo match. I'm not sure if that's the biggest strong match to do there. I think a Shingo Okada rematch in those one of those shows probably makes the most sense. So from that standpoint, I could see Okada winning here and getting his rematch with Shingo. But I mean, I do think there's a small chance.
That's assuming Shingo retains. I mean,
right? Because
Kota Ibushi's former world champion too.
Yeah, and you could, Okada Ibushi's a big money match. You could run that as well. But I think there's a slim chance, but I think Okada's going to win. But like you mentioned, G1 too is right after those other Wrestle Grand Slam shows, so Okada could get the win back on Cobb in the G1, or you could have Cobb get the win back in the G1.
Semi-main event, we've got the LIJ team of Sonata and Tetsuya Naito, the reigning IWGP Tag Team Champions, Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, defending the titles against the former champions, the Dangerous Tekkers, Taiji and Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, this has been a pretty good feud. The last title match was a great main event, and so I think we'll get another great semi-main event here. Like we mentioned, it's semi-main event. It's probably not going to be as long, and these guys, they don't need to really feel each other out that much. I think they can get right to it, and so I think this match will probably end up being better than the first. I'm going to go with Dangerous Tekkers getting the titles back here.
Yeah, this is one of the titles could switch hands. That would be a pretty short reign for Sonata and Naito. But, they were recently really playing off the idea that Dangerous Tekkers were saving this tag team division. They were going to have a long, lengthy reign. They were even challenging outside teams to come, face them. So I don't know if perhaps they continue with that once this match is over. That's a possibility. But I also, on the flip side, like with Sonata and Naito as champions, once the borders kind of open up a little bit more, I mean, there's so many, tag team matches that have not happened in the past with them.
Right.
That are kind of on the docket. I honestly think it's just a little bit too much of a short-term thing to do the switch here. So I'm going to have Sonata and Naito retain. And I'm kind of going to have the Dangerous Tekkers split off and focus on singles for the time being until, like, say, World Tag League, resumes. That's when I think things pick back up for them as a unit. So, yeah, I see Naito and Sonata heading into a G1 as tag team champions this time.
Which would be, I think, the most interesting booking decision, and then their G1 matches, you pay attention who beats them. That could set up some future tag team title matches. So I want those guys to win, but for some reason I just feel like they're gonna put the belts back quickly here and give Dangerous T the belts back.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, normally during a Tokyo Dome show, like I mentioned, I would usually predict many of these titles changing, maybe even possibly all of them. But this year just feels different to me. And for that reason, I've got almost all the champions retaining. And I think I'm going to continue that heading into the main event, which is the IWGP World Heavyweight title. Shingo Takagi defending the belt against the Golden Star Kota Ibushi.
Yeah, this should be a great main event. I guess I should say if it happens. So
yeah, we don't even know if it's happening.
For the third time in a 10-day stretch, Kota Ibushi was pulled from a New Japan event. It was announced on Friday that he was going to be off the Monday house show that they did for Summer Struggle due to illness. In its announcement, New Japan noted that Ibushi took a PCR test, which came back negative for COVID-19. Previously, New Japan cited side effects from his first vaccination shot for the reasons why he was pulled from Summer Struggle in Sapporo. Last time he wrestled was July 2nd on the July 2nd Kazuna Road event.
Yeah. So, I mean, we don't really know the ins and outs and the severity of the symptoms that he's kind of facing. But for whatever it is, it's severe enough to where he hasn't been able to wrestle these past few times. And hopefully it doesn't continue to persist. But if it does, there's a possibility that this match doesn't even happen. Yeah,
which would be not great at all, and just prove more that this world title is cursed and snake bitten. And we did have a lot of questions kind of revolving, what happens if Ibushi's not there. Hawaiian Punch VB says if Kota Ibushi is still sick, what would your backup plan be? Rampone Slam Pig says on one hand, Kota Ibushi has missed multiple shows following his vaccination. On the other, he has a 5G wireless hotspot now. So it all kind of works out. If he's unable to perform at the Tokyo Dome, who takes his spot in the main event? Dom Homie 101 says, what would be the backup plan if Ibushi is unable to wrestle at the Wrestle Grand Slam in Tokyo Dome? Who would be the replacement opponent to take on Shingo?
I literally don't know. I mean, do you have any ideas? Because I don't even have any. It feels like they're wrestling with the skeleton crew.
Right. Well, I guess the one good thing about this kind of being a spread out tour, you look back at the previous cards, we got guys like Ishii and Evil and Tanahashi and Kenta that are being featured on those Summer Struggle shows that are not on the Dome. So
yeah, I didn't think of that.
Maybe, that Tanahashi Kenta match, maybe instead of that being a U.S. number one contender, that's the winner replaces Ibushi contender, and you get Shingo versus Tanahashi or Shingo versus Kenta.
Yeah, but you know what the other possibility is?
Shingo versus Evil.
Yep. I would like to think if Ibushi's not able to go, that the winner of that Kenta Tanahashi match would be the de facto number one contender, and that wouldn't be a bad. I think that both those options would be viable and entertaining. So that's on that's on the docket, but I just kind of know there's a possibility they do Evil.
Yeah.
Especially since they don't need to sell any more tickets. The tickets are already sold, so it's
right. There's some history there of LIJ and Evil's betrayal there, and
yeah. So hard to say, but those are your likely scenarios.
Yeah, personally, me, again, I would go with Tanahashi. You get the rematch from their epic Never title match that happened at the New Beginning earlier this year. It's a guy that Shingo can beat and have a great match, great main event. It's Tanahashi in the Dome in the main event. That would be the way I would go.
The other thing, too, you kind of mentioned the winner of that Tanahashi Kenta match facing Jon Moxley, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, we've already kind of outlined on this show how, very often it comes down to star power and name recognition. Hypothetically, I could see a scenario where Kenta wins the match, especially if we're days out and they don't think Ibushi's going to be able to wrestle, right? Kenta wins the match, earning himself the title shot against Shingo, but then Tanahashi just challenges Mox anyways.
Right, yeah, we've seen people lose up all the time.
Yeah, he doesn't have to win anything to challenge Jon Moxley. I could totally see a situation where Moxley beats Archer, and then on the screen, Hiroshi Tanahashi just shows up, and he's like, Jon Moxley!
Mr. Jon Moxley.
Yeah, and then we're off to the races, and it really doesn't matter whether he beats Kenta or not. That's, irrelevant. You know what I mean?
But let's say Ibushi does make it in. Viking Pain asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, how upset would you be if Kota Ibushi beat Shingo for the title at the Dome? And will a Shingo loss hurt the product in your eyes?
I think it would just be another, we've talked about how things have felt so shaky and snake bitten with this title and with the main event scene. And when Will first took over, it felt like he was bringing a bit of, solidarity or like some, just, I don't know, things just felt more like solid and firm. And then he's gone. And then so Shingo, kind of takes a spot in a big surprise, and everyone is super happy about that. But to have him drop the belt in short order would feel, I don't know, I feel like a lot of fans would be disappointed in that, kind of hurt, which kind of sucks for Kota Ibushi because, I mean, truth be told, like, it wasn't his fault that his title reign was kind of marred by all these controversies. He had great wrestling matches during his title reign this past year. And, he is a guy we should be talking about as a Wrestler of the Year candidate, but, like, he's not even considered in the conversation just based off the perception. So, I mean, had that gone stronger, him and Shingo should be a bigger matchup right now, especially since it's only the second time they've ever wrestled. But yeah, if he beats Shingo, I mean, we've seen crazy things happen in New Japan the past couple of years, so I'm not putting it past them at all. But I wouldn't be surprised. I would be upset, but it wouldn't even be, for me, it's not even a personal thing. I do like Shingo, but it's not like I would be like, oh, they stole it from my boy. But it would just be like, damn, they're really fucking over the company,
Right. All these kind of flip-flop title changes and not a solid world champion to go off of,
Right.
And to really establish that title really needs a strong change, like a strong arrangement to establish it. And so I think just giving Shingo the run would be the right move here. I mean, I would be kind of disappointed if Ibushi wins, like you said. Though it could happen. It could logistically happen. It's a possible thing, and it would make sense in a way because Ibushi is a top guy, and you might want to get the belt back on him. But yeah, I think they should make him wait. Have a good G1. Maybe get another match at the Dome if they do 2 nights. Maybe he's one of the challengers, or wait until sometime next year for him to get the belt back.
Yeah.
So that's going to wrap up our predictions for Wrestle Grand Slam and all these summer struggle shows. So busy week here for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And we got some breaking news for the Resurgence show.
We did?
Yeah. Luckily, I was up on NJPW 1972 trying to find something out, and I saw some updated stuff for Resurgence. So new matches have been added to the card. So first, Alex Coughlin, his challenge match series continues, and he will be facing Carl Fredericks.
Nice.
So LA Dojo boys battling off. It will be, looks like it's going to be the first match, the first official match on the main card. And then also confirmed for Resurgence, we're going to have a 6-man tag. It's going to be Fred Rosser, Rocky Romero, and Wheeler Utah facing off against TJP, Clark Connors, and Ren Narita.
What show is that for?
Resurgence, that we're going to.
Oh, so Yuji Nagata is going to be there?
Did I say Yuji Nagata?
I thought that's what you just said.
No, Fred Rosser, Rocky Romero, Wheeler Utah against TJP, Clark Connors, and Ren Narita.
Gotcha. So that means Fred Rosser against Team Filthy is off the table.
Yeah.
Wow. That's big news. So, yeah.
Yeah, and they said still to come, the match for Good Brothers, Jon Moxley, Tom Lawler, and Shota Umino. So those announcements will be happening throughout the week. And I'm trying to see, because they mentioned something about dark. This 6-man tag might be a dark match, too.
That sounds like a dark match type of thing. So that also could be possible. It's possible that guys in the dark match might still end up on the main show just in general,
Yeah.
Especially if like something that was taped for dark is kind of presented later as part of like Strong.
Yeah. So it says 2 new matches made, dark match to kick the evening off. So yeah, maybe the 6-man tag is kicking it off then.
Awesome. Yeah, speaking of Wheeler Yuta, it looks like he's wrestling Darby Allin tomorrow night on Fyter Fest Night 2. That was just announced.
Awesome. Yeah, they've been really giving Wheeler Yuta some spotlight. He's been on Dark and Dark Elevation. He's kind of taken Trent's spot in the Best Friends. Trent out with a neck injury. And so, yeah, he wrestled Sammy Guevara in a pretty good match last week on Dynamite. So, yeah, facing Darby, that would be cool. So for the dark match, it says all fans live in attendance will be treated to a special dark match at 7:30 p.m. local time. This match will not be a part of the live broadcast, and the only way to see it, as it happens, will to be at the Torch at LA Coliseum.
Is it going to be a women's match?
Maybe. So it's on the 6-man on the main card, and there's going to be a special dark match that will happen at 7:30.
All right, we're gonna watch some Stardom.
And then another Resurgence announcement. Matt Morris, the former Aiden English, will be joining the English announce team for Resurgence.
If I recall, he was pretty good in that role with WWE. So I'm not, that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, so he'll be joining Kevin Kelly and Alex Kozlov. So we got a 3-man booth for the show.
Oh, God. Kozlov, you better watch your back. This man is gunning for your position.
Yeah, those Monday Strong tapings could end up just being Aiden English and Kevin Kelly.
Well, I think that's going to take us directly into the news. In news, Show's Glate match is now available on NJPW World, so check that out. Shota Umino defeated Dan Maloney at RevPro in Bristol on July 18th. So that's a big win, especially since Dan Maloney was just recently one of the finalists in that SWS, or what's the SWE?
Yeah, Southside.
It's the South. Yeah, he was in the Southside Heavyweight title tournament. And he was in the final, so Shota Umino beating him is a big deal. So, that's kind of leading into Umino's match with Ricky Knight Jr. So, also announced at West Coast Pro Cruel Summer tag team match, the West Coast Wrecking Crew will take on Carl Fredericks and Rocky Romero. Tickets are on sale. Limited seatings available. Joe Koff was on the Pro Wrestling Boom podcast and said he believes the relationships with CMLL and New Japan will continue. CMLL disavowed its relationship with Ring of Honor publicly when Ring of Honor talent was booked on the Federation show. Ring of Honor didn't stop them. Legally, Ring of Honor couldn't because its contracts don't cover Mexico. New Japan talent hasn't appeared with Ring of Honor as of late, but has appeared in both AEW and Impact. And this is something I've been wondering about myself. It almost feels like, I don't know, with the other thing kind of with all this, like Impact as well as AEW have close ties to AAA.
Right.
And historically, New Japan has not interacted in any way with AAA, at least in the past decade, simply because of their relationship with CMLL. And so I'm kind of wondering, like, with all these different lines being crossed, and then the ROH CMLL relationship sort of breaking down publicly recently, whether that's going to be mended, remains to be seen. I'm wondering if, like, New Japan and CMLL continue their relationship, or if, like, the forbidden door's opening and, like, we're going to be seeing Psycho Clown show up for AAA Fantastica Mania in Korakuen Hall.
Right. Yeah. Next year, it'll be AAA Fantastica Mania, and then it'll be All Elite Rising.
Vikingo!
Oh my gosh, Vikingo in New Japan. I just thought about that.
Yeah. So.
Oh,
man. AAA.
Use the same music, same graphics, just put the AAA logo.
Cain Velasquez is going to show up, start doing flips. It's going to be great.
Oh, man. But yeah, we also had a question here from Viking Pain. He said, recently, Joe Koff, the CEO of ROH, said that despite their final relationship with New Japan, they now become a competitor in the U.S. because of Strong. So it got me thinking, once this pandemic is over, do you guys expect the gates to come down again with Western promotions going back into isolation to control their market share, or will it be too late to put their talent sharing thing back into the bottle?
Well, to be honest with you, I think that's really going to come down to AEW and Tony Khan. His policies seem to be the market dictator since truth be told, right now, AEW is the second largest wrestling company out there. In some regards, New Japan, I guess, could still be viewed that way, especially over in Japan. But here in this market, domestically here in the States, it's really going to come down to what they do as a market leader. And that really is going to allow or disallow certain things from being able to happen. If competition becomes too fierce, you might not see some of these groups working together so much in the future. But based on the way he's talked publicly on podcasts and the radio and in interviews, it seems that he's very much publicly open to allowing different groups. He's pretty much said that he thinks there should be many wrestling groups that all kind of coexist working together. And if that is the case, and that seems to be a winning, business strategy across the board for the industry, it might not matter. You might still just continue to see groups working together.
Right, yeah. Like you said, yeah, Tony Khan, he's the power broker here. All the chips kind of fall for what AEW does. And so, like you mentioned, yeah, he's been very open. Kenny Omega has been in interviews saying they're very open and said, they would work with WWE if that was an option. So that they're kind of willing to work with anybody that, as long as it's, good for business.
And that's not to say that they're going to tell New Japan what they can and can't do. That's never going to be the case. New Japan, has proven time and time again to kind of be their own, company, and sort of sometimes to their own detriment been stubborn to a fault. So, anything could change and New Japan can make a decision and that working relationship would cease to exist. But, like Jeremy mentioned, Tony is the power broker in this domestic market. So I think that's kind of the indicator going forward, but we'll see what happens. I mean, it seems to be affecting New Japan's policies as well here in this country. So, yeah. Final bit of news: this week's free match of the week, the KOPW 2020 Final 4-Way match: El Desperado, Sonata, Okada, and Toru Yano from Summer Struggle 2020 in Jingu Stadium. I don't know why you would make that match your free match of the week, but that's it. That's the inaugural KOPW match. So,
get people hyped for that Rambo.
Yeah, I wish they'd get rid of that and then bring back actual King of Pro Wrestling, the show.
Yeah, that would be great.
But we've got some questions here, and then we're going to get to the recommended match of the week. We're going to start off with Rambo and Slam Pig. He asked, with Resurgence in mid-August and AEW all out in early September, does it seem likely that one or more stars from the Japanese side of New Japan Pro Wrestling may come over and make appearances at both while they're here? If they have to quarantine twice, may as well make the most of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen guys that come over into the States kind of work multiple shows or work AEW, Impact, Strong. So if somebody is coming over, it would make sense to kind of hang around for big shows. I think Resurgence is definitely a high likelihood of somebody from Japan coming over to appear on that. As far as All Out, I mean, I think it just kind of depends again on Tony Khan, what he has laid out for that pay-per-view. It's going to be a big show in Chicago, already sold out. It seems like they're building towards Hangman and Kenny as the main event. And, they have a very big roster, and, they only do about 8 matches on the main card. So I think
I'll tell you what, though. If it was Tanahashi, they would find a spot for him. Now, I'm not saying a major singles position on the card, but we've seen them do some showcase tag team matches for like Joshi stars and things like that on the pay-per-views. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Tanahashi's in the area and let's say he even hypothetically, beats Jon Moxley for the title. Maybe he doesn't. But let's say he does and he's the new champion. They're probably going to bring him on and have him, wrestle on the pay-per-view.
Yeah. The only issue with New Japan guys working All Out, it's the same weekend as Wrestle Grand Slam and MetLife Dome. They're running 2 shows, the 4th and the 5th. So.
Yeah, that would probably be the case. Yeah. But I mean, think about it. I mean, he kind of brought up a good point. Resurgence is in mid-August. Short turnaround for someone like a Tanahashi or Kenta to get here, work the show, and then get back in time for, the dome shows over, or, the stadium shows over in Japan.
Right. Yeah.
So they might be here and need to just be here anyways, just from a logistics standpoint. Why not have them work the all-out show if that is what's going to happen,
Right.
I don't know if that timetable works for them to get back to Japan.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, Tony has been promising a lot of big surprises for upcoming shows. So, yeah, a Tanahashi or somebody of that level sticking around to be at All Out would be pretty cool.
Mitch MM22 asks, last week you guys discussed New Japan being the promotion hit hardest by the pandemic, and I definitely agree. Despite the pandemic situation in Japan, I feel like non-New Japan Pro promotions like Stardom and the Cyberfight group, especially Noah, have managed to still put on a quality product, create buzz, and earn a lot of praise from fans and critics. What factors or decisions do you think led to these other promotions and New Japan having totally different pandemic experiences? Or maybe you guys disagree and think all pro promotions are struggling right now. Curious for your guys' thoughts. Sorry for the long-winded question, but this topic really intrigued me last week. Keep up the great work, and thanks for being the best wrestling podcast around. You know it.
Well, thanks, Mitch MM22. Yeah, very interesting thing here, because it definitely seems like there has been a lot more buzz for other PRO promotions, especially Stardom. I feel like Stardom has really picked up their popularity this year, especially with that crazy big 5-star title match that they had a few weeks ago. And I don't know, I just think it's one of those things where like New Japan was just so high up on the pedestal, and the fact that we're getting all these smaller shows, no crowd interaction. To top off, last year you had Evil winning the title, and then we have this Dick Togoism, going around. You have KOPW. I think there's a lot of things that, New Japan fans looked at that they weren't fans of, and I think it's a lot easier to kind of look at a smaller promotion that's already small, kind of thriving in a small environment, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So this is kind of a loaded question. I mean, truth be told, I think obviously, and I mean, it's a no-brainer, the pandemic negatively affected all Japanese wrestling promotions. There's no denying that. The real question is as to what extent. And let's be very clear here. I think All Japan, while they've done some things creatively that are interesting, they're not anywhere near as strong as what they were prior to the pandemic. I think that it's hurt them quite a bit. We saw what's the company that Muto was running that went out of business?
Was it 01?
Yeah, I think it was 01, or I don't know. It was one of those companies. That company went out of business. Big Japan was struggling. I can't really speak for Dragon Gate, to be honest, but who knows? And I also think before the cyber agent thing, Noah as well as DDT were kind of, under a little bit of a strain, I think part of the reason why Noah as well as Stardom are kind of seen in a sense that they are sort of on the upswing. I mean, I think it's no surprise that the two companies that had major buyouts and major infusions of cash, capital, and investment, thrived during this period. That's not really a coincidence. The other thing too is both of those companies, from a creative standpoint and all that, they were already momentous and on the upswing prior to the pandemic hitting. I believe pandemic or no pandemic, they were both poised to have breakout years anyways, and you kind of look at the types of wrestling matches that they're putting on and the appeal that they were gaining, especially with fans here in the West. That might speak to kind of the question there.
Yeah, and I think another thing is a lot of these other Puro companies do not have a heavy reliance on Gaijin talent. I feel like a lot of these other PRO guys are using domestic local guys. When you look at New Japan, they're bringing in Moxley, they're bringing in all these juniors, Dragon Lee, and all these guys for the junior division, for the heavyweight division. They brought a lot of guys in for G1, Best Super Junior, and all these big shows. Chris Jericho, it relied heavily on guys with talent, and with borders being closed, we saw a lot of guys couldn't get into the country. And meanwhile, all these other companies are using domestic, homegrown people.
That's a great point. I didn't even think of that, and that's got to be a huge contributing factor. I think one of the other big things is, while Japanese wrestling is always typically very traditional in their calendars, within the context of their own, group, whatever it is that they tend to do, New Japan seems to just be much more beholden to their traditions and to their schedules and their booking philosophies, more so than any other group. And that's actually been one of their strengths, why they're so consistent. But at the same time, in this case, I think it's been to their detriment to some degree, because they've kind of just been reliant on needing to follow the status of whatever it was their booking strategy had been and what their schedule had necessitated. And they've kind of fallen into the trap of needing to meet all these goals. Plus the fact that being a bigger company and having the obligation to meet the demands of their shareholders to produce the type of revenue that they've been the past couple of years, and it's almost an impossible task, has also required them to put on crappier shows, just put on content for content's sake so that they can try to make up the losses. And it's kind of been an uphill battle, I think. And then obviously, like some of the stuff you mentioned, Jeremy, some of the wacky booking decisions, all of that has kind of contributed. So, and then you kind of contrast that with like Stardom and Noah, like you mentioned, they've got all these stars that they've kind of built up domestically, and they're, not always, but they got a lot of young talent or talent that are in their primes. I know Noah is also relying on a lot of age stars as well, but they've just been having incredible runs of great matches and creating a lot of buzz and excitement off that, where New Japan hasn't been able to do quite that same thing.
Right. And like you mentioned too, with the whole, having to create content, I think also the increased amount of shows New Japan has had to do in order to kind of break even,
Yeah.
I mean, we have been seeing them increase the schedule, but I feel like with the pandemic, they had to increase it even more to try and get the number of seats they need to break even. So I think if there was
that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if there was a less amount of shows too, I mean, I think all these other periods, I think they're still running their pretty normal schedule. Maybe they had maybe one or two extra in their calendar, but it's not like New Japan where like this week we have literally 4 big shows, these 3 summer struggles and Wrestle Grand Slam. Like I don't think that would have happened in a normal calendar year.
It's Chunky asked, do you still believe New Japan will return to MSG for Wrestle Dynasty?
I think so. I mean, they are very heavy on that, but they've definitely lost some momentum since the first MSG show. I definitely think they should, use their American partners to once again help them fill that building. But I think they'll try and do it again in the future.
At some point, I believe so, but we'll see. I hope so, is my answer. Grunty Dodds asked, we just passed the 1-year anniversary of Master Wato's debut. What letter grade would you give his first year?
I'd go like C-. He's not a horrible wrestler, but also we've talked about it here on the show, just kind of the lack of confidence. There's some kind of sloppy in some of his matches, some botches. And sometimes he looks really good, when he's hitting that tornillo and that spiral tap, and some of his strikes look really good. And just depending on who's in there with, it seems like sometimes he's on a roll and sometimes he's not. He's kind of had a lot of hit and miss kind of moments. I mean, even just the debut itself of him, being attacked by Doki, one of the lowest guys on the totem pole, was not the greatest way for him to start.
C- sounds good to me. Viking Pain asked, Malachi Black kills people, is possibly possessed, and has Undertaker-like teleportation powers. Do you still want this man in New Japan?
I think as long as, Gato pulls the TK rule and kind of reins him in, I'd be fine with it. We already have, lights on and off of Evil and Dick Togo, so it's whatever. But as long as all his lore is reined in, I'd be fine.
Yeah, Tommy End is raw as fuck, so yes. With New Japan beginning to issue vaccine passports on July 26th, the passport that will allow a fully vaccinated person more freedom to travel. What Japanese talent could use a run on Strong to help freshen him up a bit? My pick would be Goto. Goto versus Tom Lawler. Yes, please.
Yeah, I feel like any of those, the Never Six-Man guys, Goto, Ishii, and Yoshihashi, I think would be cool for them to show up on Strong. But honestly, I think with the passport, I think we need more guys from the U.S. coming to Japan to kind of freshen up the scene there.
Yeah, I think Ishii's Goto's not a bad pick. The only thing is he's still, tied to the Never Six-Man tag team titles. And I don't see any reason to kind of break them up right now, especially since the G1's coming up and I'm assuming he's going to be involved with that. The one person I could think of that I'd like to see come over for a short run is someone that you mentioned earlier, Jeremy, Zack Sabre Jr. I think that he'd be a great addition to the Strong roster. I can just imagine him having all sorts of classic battles with Chris Dickinson, Ren Narita,
Brody,
Tom Lawler, Fred Yehai. There's all kinds of guys for him to work,
Yeah, it'd be a great set of matchups, guys. He's already wrestled new matchups. Yeah, I would love that.
I know you guys talked about this briefly once, but will Young Boy be willing to share his idea of a 24-man G1 in detail in the future? I was thinking that if you were to split the blocks up by 6 men per block for A, B, C, and D, you might be able to pull it off. Have A, B, and C be shows in Japan while D be a show for Strong, and then the winners of A, B, C, and D face each other in a Final Four with the winners of those matches going off into the championship round. Theoretically, it could work, and with Strong roster getting stronger and deeper, it's something I would love to see.
So what do you think, Young Boy? Did we include Strong in your 24-man block idea?
No, I'm not a big fan of that personally, unless you get to the point where, you can do the kind of business here in the States that they typically do over in Japan, which I don't see as being a viable possibility. But yeah, my whole idea has always been, it's 20 men now. You do 24 men. You get more people included in the tournament. You get more resting for, the guys that are competing. You blow off less big matches throughout the year, so you can actually save some of those matches. We still get the same amount of entertainment. In fact, we actually end up getting more shows and more matches, not too many to where it's overwhelming. And then, yeah, you get a compelling A block versus B block final, or however you want to do it. You get 2 finals and then a grand final on top of that. I just think for the competitors, it'd probably be better, and I think they can make more money doing it that way.
Yeah, you've talked about this idea for years now, and I think I've always thought it's a great idea.
You can also do shows where potentially you do A and C block on the same night and B and D block on the same night. Not all throughout the show, but maybe like when you're ready to do, I don't know, Yokohama Stadium, or I don't know.
Yeah, if you're on Osaka Joe Hall, like in the middle of the tour, you do a full G1 card.
Yeah, or Nippon Budokan or whatever. Maybe those the last 5 nights you run one of those big buildings, and yeah, you could do some big business. So, but yeah, I don't see it being viable to do the entire tournament on the American side, including the G1. I don't know. For me, I guess I'm a traditionalist. It's like you want to be in the G1, you got to go to Japan to be in that G1. That's where the best tournament in the world is run. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm all down for Strong guys going to Japan and being a part of the G1.
Stephen Waiteka asked, looking back on New Japan working agreements, who would you like to see them side with to help in the U.S. Ring of Honor, MLW, AEW, Impact. Ring of Honor and MLW seem to be more like New Japan Pro Wrestling products, while AEW and Impact are more entertainment aspect.
Yeah, I think, from a stylistic standpoint, he makes a good point of, ROH and MLW, very kind of sports-based, hard-hitting grappling, and does kind of fit more with the New Japan product. But at the end of the day, I think AEW is going to be the one that's going to get more eyeballs on them.
I mean, for me, it's always come the talent trade agreements and the working agreements have always come down to talent trade. Where are the big stars so we can have the big matches? Used to be Ring of Honor. It's not Ring of Honor anymore. I can barely tell you the matches that I'd want to see between New Japan and Ring of Honor. I couldn't have. What was that show they used to do? Honor Rising?
Yeah, Honor Rising, in Japan.
They did the Honor Rising shows in Japan, and God, what would an Honor Rising show look like right now? PCO. Oh, actually, I like PCO, but it just wouldn't be the same at this point. I'd much rather see an AEW New Japan show. I'm not even that big on Impact. For me, Impact is sort of just like a carry-oner for AEW at this point.
Right, it just kind of happens to be there.
It's there, and there's some cool stuff happening, but it's more by proxy than anything else. So, yeah. And MLW, who knows about them? I mean, I don't even know. We got a question from Moxley. He said, if you guys had to pick a starting 5 baseball team plus 1 utility sub for New Japan, who would you pick? I don't even know what he's talking about.
It's basketball. He wants us to pick a basketball team of New Japan guys.
Dude, I don't watch basketball. I watch fighting. I watch fake and real fighting. I watch a little hockey because they can get down, but
they scrap a little bit.
Yeah, they scrap a little bit, but basketball. I don't know who the fuck is good at basketball. You know who's good in basketball, Jeremy?
I have a New Japan roster. No, I mean, just thinking. I don't know. Maybe Sonata. He has some ups. Pretty athletic.
Picking Fale. He's big.
Be a center.
I don't know. I don't know what positions they play in basketball, Jeremy. Is there a forward or something?
Yeah, there's power forward, point guard.
What do they do?
I know center is always big because I know Shaq was a center.
I don't know anyone. I don't know.
Pretty sure Sky Pippen was a point forward.
Asking the wrong. Why would we even waste anyone's time with
this?
He
actually asked the same question to One Nation Radio, but asking them to use, I think, AEW guys.
And they watch basketball.
Yeah.
They did a whole 30 minutes this past week on, Team USA, and I listened to it, but I didn't know what they were talking about. I agree with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said also, who was your favorite member of 3 Count? Was it Helmsmore or Evan? My God, what kind of fucking... This is a New Japan Pro Wrestling podcast, okay? And the answer is Shannon Moore. Also, I don't know. Evan Courageous, I guess. I think I liked Evan Courageous. I don't even remember. Actually, I liked Tank Abbott. That's who I liked from 3 Count.
Honestly, I don't remember watching 3 Count during when it actually happened. I was kind of saw it afterwards. But, out of those 3, I'd probably say Hurricane was my favorite.
Muzza, you need to do better, bro. Wasting our time. Hawaiian Punch BV said, did you check out Charlo versus Castano? Thoughts on the decision? I personally scored it. Castano 115-113, but I'm okay with the draw. 117-111 for Charlo is terrible, though. Texas gonna Texas. And no, I didn't catch the fight. Busy weekend. Once I looked into it and I realized that they're fighting for the undisputed junior middleweight title, I was very intrigued. I've heard great things. I heard it was a fight of the year contender, so I'm gonna definitely watch it. From almost all reports, I've seen a lot of people have decisions one way or the other. Most seem to be totally fine with the draw, which sounds like the makings of a great fight. But yeah, that 117-111. I looked at the punch stats and the CompuBox and everything. There's no way. And based on all media scores and everything, there's no way. So yeah, that's that it's one of the reasons why people don't like, don't watch boxing. It's because, and MMA too.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw? What did you think? The UFC's approach of trying to redeem Dillashaw for doping. Biggest factor in the fight, Sandhagen height and reach, or Dillashaw's wrestling? And I mean, are you familiar with either of these guys, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm more familiar with TJ Dillashaw. I've heard Corey Sandhagen's name. I've probably seen him fight, but nothing really like stands out to me.
He hit that giant V trigger on Frankie Edgar, knocked him out recently.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Frankie Edgar's like one of my all-time favorite fighters, so I was pretty upset. But this one, it's hard to really. I'm all for the approach. Dillashaw is a great fighter, even though he got caught doping and all that. I mean, there's no denying what he's accomplished in the sport. Corey Sandhagen's, I believe, number 2 at bantamweight. So this has the makings of a great fight. Dillashaw's got great wrestling, but one thing that I think you're kind of discounting here is his striking ability. I mean, he's like incredible on his feet, incredibly fast, but at the same time, he's aged. It's not 2016 anymore, so I don't know what to expect. We haven't seen him fight in a long time, and Corey Sandhagen is a hellacious striker. So I think I'm leaning towards Corey just because he's surging right now, and there's just too many unknowns with TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah.
Dom Homie 101 asked us. He said, "Non-New Japan question. Any thoughts on Monday Night Raw debut of Karrion Kross?"
Oh, man. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. Very bad booking. You have your current NXT champion who's been undefeated, cleaned up the NXT roster, showing up on Monday Night Raw and losing in less than 2 minutes to a, washed Jeff Hardy, who's been losing to, Jinder's lackeys on the main event. Just shows you, stuff just happens, bad booking. Vince is upset that NXT lost to War, sees those guys as a bunch of losers, and he's sending a message.
Bro, I don't know. Once they had Brock Lesnar split Roman Reigns to the white meat at WrestleMania in New Orleans, that let me know everything I need to know about this company. I don't give a fuck about WWE. Like, I watch some of the bigger shows. Funny thing is, I did watch this Raw, mainly because my girlfriend really loves John Cena. It's like one of her all-time favorite guys. And it sounds like I'm going to have to watch SmackDown on Friday too, but hopefully I can get out of that.
Sounds like you're going to be going to SmackDown next month when it's here in
Possibly.
Tampa.
But I was dead ass asleep during the show. Like I woke up and Karrion Kross is getting rolled up. And funny thing is, Jeff Hardy cheated. Jeff Hardy's
put on the ropes.
So I don't know what the fuck's going on there. Another non-wrestling question. Thoughts on the whole cardboard bed situation that's going on at the Olympics? Do you know about this? I don't even know what he's talking about.
No, I don't know what he's talking. I'm not familiar with that. I didn't have time to look it up.
Ask us again next week. Maybe I'll look into it and we'll see. I don't know. What are some great boxing matchups that should have taken place but never took place? My pick would be Lennox Lewis versus Riddick Bowe, Ray Leonard versus Aaron Pryor, Juan Manuel Marquez versus Eric Morales. Those were all really great picks. Dude, too many to name. I was really wanting to see Roy Jones Jr. in 03, 04-ish when he went to heavyweight. I really wanted to see him fight Mike Tyson and or Evander Holyfield and make, the hundreds of millions that he was supposed to have made in his career. But then he went back to light heavyweight and fought Tarver, which was a mistake. So that's a big one. Trying to think. There was always the what's his name? Margarito and Mayweather never happened at welterweight. That's another one. I don't know. Jeremy, you're not like a big boxing guy, huh?
Nah. But, I wanted to see Mike Tyson versus Bart Gunn. The Brawl for All champ.
That's a good question. This is one I'd probably have to put some thought into. I mean, I think the ones you listed, Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe, two of the most dominant, heavyweights of the 90s. That one screams out, that's obvious. Plus Riddick Bowe, ducking Lennox Lewis, obviously. Leonard Pryor is another one. I think Leonard would have worked Pryor, but it's a big one. And then Marquez and Morales is they were like that Fab Four of the flyweight guy, or not flyweight, but like the featherweight guys of that generation. So that's a big one. I don't know. I'd have to think about this one and get back to you. There's quite a few fights that like I wish would have happened that didn't, but I don't know. Any thoughts on the 4-part Showtime documentary about the Four Kings? How would you rank them 4-1? And would you say that Wilfred Benitez is the forgotten fifth king since he fought 3 out of the 4 kings? I haven't gotten a chance to watch this. I've heard really great things about it. I don't have Showtime.
Who are the 4 kings?
So during the late 70s, early 80s, you had Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, and Marvin Hagler. From about welterweight on up to middleweight, they kind of dominated the era, and they all fought each other at various times between 1980 up until 1989. I think it's the last match between those guys, and they drew like incredible money, had some of the most legendary fights and knockouts. I mean, like it was one of the most profitable like round robins of guys fighting each other.
They were the 4 pillars.
They were like the 4 pillars of boxing, yeah, pretty much. And then to answer your question, I would agree that Wilfred Benitez was like the forgotten fifth guy, because he did fight. He never fought Marvin Hagler, but he did fight Ray Leonard, and he also and he fought Tommy Hearns, and he fought Roberto Duran. So he's up there. In terms of ranking them 4-1, man, that's a really, really, really hard question. I would probably go Tommy Hearns number 4, and to be clear, Tommy Hearns is my favorite fighter of all time. So this is me being unbiased. Number 2 would have to be Marvin Hagler. I'm sorry, number 3 would have to be Marvin Hagler. Number 2 would be Roberto Duran. And then number 1 would be Ray Leonard. And I'm not just talking about for the era. I'm talking about their entire career body of work, and also kind of taking into account head-to-head matchups, that sort of thing. But, they're 4 of the greatest fighters of all time. So I'm sure there's people listening that probably disagree with me. But, I think Ray Leonard's maybe, like, the greatest fighter we've ever seen. Like, I think he would have fucking, like, destroyed Floyd Mayweather, so. Last question. This is not a question, but this is a recommendation. I recommend that people check out the Jermell Charlo versus Brian Castano fight. The scorecards were just the scorecards, but it was still a great fight. Hopefully they'll run it back. I agree. I'll check it out. And that's going to do it for the questions. And we're going to wrap up the show. Recommended match of the week. Last week, my recommendation was to you, Jeremy. I recommended from the G1 in, I believe, what was it, 2016? 2017?
2017 B Block. Okada versus
Okada taking on the now incarcerated Michael Elgin.
Yeah, so that news came out like right after you recommended this match, but
I was like, I'm so glad I recommended this felon.
But despite what happened, this was a great matchup. I had not seen this match previously. This was awesome. They were in Korakuen Hall. We had a split crowd here. Korakuen's that smarky crowd at times, and they, half the crowd was behind Elgin, half behind Okada. Great crowd reactions. Kind of story of the match. Elgin was just outpowering Okada. Okada would try some of his signature stuff, and, Big Mike would just kind of catch him, throw him around. Ton of great suplexes and slams. One thing I popped for was when Okada was going for his signature crossbody over the rails, and Elgin caught him in the crowd and threw him back over the rails. Thought that was pretty dope. Elgin's had a lot of great deadlift Germans and deadlift clutch suplexes. He tried for the Cesaro inside out, but Okada was able to reverse that. Okada had some great drop kicks as usual in this match. Elgin hit a Rainmaker at one point, followed by a regular lariat. Then he hit a crucifix bomb, and Okada kicked out at 2.9999. That near fall. Elgin then went to his Chris Hero phase and just started throwing roaring elbows. A lot of great back and forth at the closing stretch. Elgin desperately trying to hit the Elgin bomb. He went for the buckle bomb. Okada reverses. Elgin hits a choke bomb, gets a near fall. Okada does a Rainmaker out of the burning hammer, hits another Rainmaker. Then you get another closing stretch of sequences, and then Okada hits another Rainmaker. 1, 2, 3. Okada defeated Michael Elgin.
Yeah. What would you give in this match ratings-wise?
Probably 4.5, maybe 4 3/4.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible matchup. Miss hearing a hot, raucous Korakuen Hall crowd, and Big Mike, not a great person, but he was a great professional wrestler.
Yeah, absolutely, totally agree. Glad that you got a chance to check this out and enjoyed it. And what do you got for me next week?
So for this week, the recommended match of the week is Prince Devitt versus Ricochet from the 2013 Best of the Super Junior tournament.
Great. I'll be happy to check that one out. That's the year that Prince Devitt was Bullet Club, right?
Yeah, he's in Bullet Club. He's the junior champion in this matchup, and I was very surprised. This match has no ratings on Cage Match. There's not that many reviews about it, and I watched it yesterday. Thought it was a great main event from this Super Junior show, and two of the bigger stars in wrestling today, Prince Devitt, now Finn Balor, and Ricochet. So yeah, that was pretty good.
Cool. Well, I'll be happy to check that out, and I'll give you guys my review next week.
And that's going to wrap things up for us here this week. Next week, we'll be back to review Summer Struggle in Osaka, Nagoya, and Wrestle Grand Slam. And, of course, cover all the latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. The show is at KI Strong Style. The network is at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Social Suplex. In the Wrestling Squared Circle, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, we're at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy. Y'all just Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy@socialsuplex.com. Check out our Discord server. Link for that is in the show notes of the show. Make sure you check out all the other shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. The Grave Consequences Podcast with Caleb and Maserati. 8-Bit Suplex with Josh #2. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. And the Great Match Generator with Danny. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
Life needs more Cedar Point. More smiles. More surprises. More screams. More days in the sun and nights on the shore. More oohs and ahs and yums. More moments with your family and friends. More memories you get to share again and again. Life needs more Cedar Point. More than ever.
And this year, there's more reason to celebrate than ever at Cedar Point's 150th anniversary through August 15th. Get tickets at cedarpoint.com.
At Lowe's, we know pros like you are working harder than ever So check out our Just for Pros event now through July 23rd. Buy a Metabo HPT 18-gauge pneumatic stapler and get a Metabo HPT 18-gauge brad nailer for free, an $89.98 value. See our new line of Flex power tools, too. Shop in-store or online. Lowe's, the new home for pros. While supplies last, valid through 7/23/21, U.S. only.